I spotted two huge shadows in the underground river, two tyrant ghost spiders, even bigger than the one I fought before. I was confident I could handle one, but two at once in a dead-end cave? That was trouble. My partner Xiao Bai got anxious and started digging at a cracked wall deeper in the cave, trying to find another way out. I grabbed my pickaxe and helped, but we couldn't break through in time. I heard one of the spiders climb out of the water behind us. I was about to use my invisibility talisman, my last trump card, but then I checked the spider's stats and noticed something. Its strength was insanely high at 143, but its speed was only 68. With all my skills stacked together, I could push my agility to 110. I was way faster than it. So I made a bold move. I activated everything I had, dashed in like a ghost, slid right under the spider's belly, and sliced it open with my Jiao bone blade. It died instantly. Compared to last time, this fight was a complete blowout in my favor. The second spider attacked immediately, charging at me like a truck with a skill that boosted its stats. It kept low, so I couldn't hit its weak spot, but I dodged to the side, and it slammed straight into the cave wall and got stuck. I unloaded on it from behind, cutting wound after wound. It broke free and fought back hard, swinging its many legs like blades. I kept my distance, dodging and striking, wearing it down. When my energy was running low, the spider sensed it couldn't beat me and tried to run. That was its mistake. The moment it turned, I slid under it again and ripped it open. The momentum sent me tumbling into the river, but when I climbed out, it was already dead. I leveled up to 30, the first player out of millions to reach that rank. And right there in the cave, a golden treasure chest materialized. A gold chest. I rushed to shore, thrilled. I waited in the cave, watching the golden light slowly form into a treasure chest. While it was taking shape, the two tyrant ghost spider bodies faded away and each left behind a drop. The first one dropped a martial arts manual called 12 Golden Legs, a second-tier technique that could later be upgraded to an even stronger version. In this kingdom, a second-tier technique is priceless. The second spider left behind a 100-year fire ginseng that could boost my cultivation. Both were incredible finds from level 100 bosses. After about half an hour, the golden chest finally appeared. I opened it, and golden light blasted my face. Inside was a picture. Just a picture. I was confused at first. No weapon, no pill, no martial arts manual. But then I read the description. Divine Ape Visualization Chart. Increases your spirit power limit. My heart started pounding. Spirit power is incredibly rare and hard to raise, and this thing just gives it to you directly. At the highest level, it grants 80 spirit points and a special skill called telekinesis, controlling objects from a distance. That's beyond normal martial arts. It made me wonder just how powerful the top masters in this world really are. I learned it immediately. The picture turned into golden light and sank into my forehead. For a moment, I felt like I actually became the ape in the painting, sitting cross-legged in meditation. When I snapped out of it, I was sitting in the exact same pose. My goals started shifting. At first, I just wanted to survive and find a way back to reality. But now, I want to get stronger. I want to see just how far this game world goes. Then Xiao Bai came tugging at my pants. I followed it and found a massive wall of pure red gold it had been digging toward this whole time. Not an escape route. It was treasure hunting. I couldn't help but laugh. Still, a gold deposit this big would be perfect for leveling up later, and I could bring my teammates here too. Back home, I used my remaining pills to level up the 12 Golden Legs technique to the second mastery stage. I checked my stats, level 30, with a growing list of skills and techniques. I'm getting stronger, and I'm just getting started. I figured out that the Divine Ape Visualization Chart levels up through experience points, not pills. So I decided to save my cultivation pills for later and let it grow naturally. About 7 days to reach the first stage. Then I'd use 2 pills to push it to the second stage, which would give me 60 spirit points total. But first, I ate the fire ginseng. It tasted crispy and sweet, like a radish. As soon as it hit my stomach, energy rushed through my whole body. I watched my stats change in real time. Everything was going up. My internal arts gained experience, my combat techniques gained proficiency, and I leveled up twice, jumping to level 32. On top of that, my vital energy shot from 10 to 100, which is a huge deal for both attack and defense. Then the divine ape chart hit its first milestone on its own from the ginseng boost, and my spirit power jumped from 30 to 40. I tried adding my free stat points to spirit, but the system wouldn't allow it. Spirit can only grow through the ape chart. So I put both points into agility instead, bringing it to 28. I checked the leaderboard. I was now 4 levels ahead of second place. At these higher levels, each level takes way more experience, so that gap is massive. I used my 2 remaining cultivation pills over about 6 days, both on the divine ape chart. It broke through to the second mastery stage, and my spirit rocketed to 60. The change was incredible. I could hear conversations far away, birdsong, insects, every tiny sound crystal clear. With my eyes closed, I could picture everything happening around me. That's when I heard something chilling. A group of players outside the mining village were planning to ambush me tonight while I slept. They wanted my techniques, my pills, my money, and most of all, the secret behind my fast leveling. They were counting on a monk named Huewu, ranked 6th on the leaderboard at level 22, saying his martial arts were better than mine and the gap between us wasn't that big. I opened my eyes, grateful my new spirit power let me overhear them. If they'd attacked while I was still absorbing the pills, I might have been in real trouble. Lesson learned. Next time I take pills, I need to find a more hidden spot. I got up and started stretching, getting ready. I practiced my 3 combat techniques together, the tiger capture blade, the void step footwork, and the 12 golden legs, and discovered something great. When I combine all 3 while training, their proficiency goes up at the same time. With my 60 spirit points, that's 6 points per hour across all 3, adding up to 300 points of total proficiency gain per day. That's like getting a free pill every single day. I did the math. At this rate, even without any extra help, I could advance all 3 techniques to the next major stage within 3 years. And if my divine ape chart levels up further, boosting my spirit even more, it could take just 1 or 2 years. I started wondering, could I become a 4th-rank grandmaster? When night came, I sat in my courtyard drinking tea, waiting. With my enhanced hearing, I picked up 4 shadows sneaking into the yard from 4 directions. When the moonlight broke through the clouds, I scanned all their stats. 3 of them were nobodies, monks from Bitter Awakening Temple, levels 13 to 15, with pitiful stats. The only decent one was Huewu, level 22, with 31 strength and a 2nd-tier internal art called the Bitter Awakening Scripture at the 2nd mastery stage. Not bad, but nothing I couldn't handle. They tried playing it smooth, pretending to be respected monks on official temple business, asking me how I'd gotten so strong so fast. I played along at first, casually mentioning I'd passed the upper 8th rank exam at the prefecture, which shocked them, since they knew a player at my level shouldn't be anywhere near that strong. They called me a liar. So I dropped the act. "You're not real monks," I said coldly. "You're just 4 bald guys here to cause trouble. So Huewu, why don't you just tell me what you actually want?" When I called out Huewu's identity, all 4 of them looked shocked. I sat back down and poured myself tea, telling them it wasn't hard to figure out. They're from Bitter Awakening Temple, and I'm number 1 on the leaderboard. Of course they came looking for answers. Their loudmouth spokesman tried to play the "we're all players stuck here" card, demanding I share my leveling secret. I pointed at the red gold mine right in front of them and said that's how I level up, mining. They didn't buy it, which was fair enough. Then they tried threatening me with Huewu's backing at the temple, saying his master is a 7th-rank expert and I need a powerful backer to survive. I ignored the lackey and spoke directly to Huewu. He was calm and honest, at least. He told me his internal art gives him 40 strength points when activated, and with his combat skills stacked, his strength hits over 80. He figured my art was probably 3rd tier at best, still at the beginner stage. So even with my 10-level advantage, he was confident he was stronger. What he didn't know is that my Golden King art is 1st tier, giving me 30 points to both strength and agility. And at higher levels, the gap between 1st tier and 2nd tier gets even bigger. I tried to warn them. I said raw strength is useless if you can't land a hit. You need speed too. Huewu caught on and asked about my agility. I told him that's a secret. The 3 lackeys decided they'd kill me regardless, for the experience points, for whatever I might drop, for the leveling secret. Huewu walked toward me, powering up. His strength climbed from 31 to 71. Impressive, but his agility was still terrible. I vanished from my chair like a gust of wind, appeared right in front of him and unleashed the 12 golden legs. Kick after kick slammed into his chest, each one pushing him back a step. He couldn't even react. The speed difference was just too massive. After a dozen kicks, I walked back to my seat, picked up my teacup, and took a sip. The tea had cooled to just the right temperature. Huewu's health was nearly gone after my kicks. His chest was caved in, and he could barely speak. He looked at me and whispered, "Upper, 8th rank," finally realizing I'd been telling the truth all along. His last words were, "I shouldn't have come." Then he died standing up. He was right. Staying safe and growing stronger quietly is the smart play. I didn't feel much about killing him. After all the fights I've been through, I've adapted to this world. The martial world is about strength. If you don't have it, no amount of talking will save you. The other 3 monks panicked and begged for mercy, but it was too late. They'd come here to kill me. I finished them off in an instant. None of them gave me any experience. The system figured I was too far above them. I searched their bodies, but only found a handful of silver. They'd left their valuables back at the temple. I dumped the bodies deep in mine Tunnel 36, cleaned up all traces, took a bath, and went back to training. The next day, I reassessed my schedule. Between my 2 internal arts, each needing 6 hours of daily practice, and my 3 combat techniques, time was incredibly tight. I decided to pause leveling up. I was already way ahead, and focus on boosting my Golden King art with my remaining 8 cultivation pills. Once it reaches the 3rd stage, I'll get 60 points to both strength and agility when activated. At that level, I could hold my own against 7th rank warriors. I moved my training spot into a stone room I carved deep inside mine Tunnel 36, with Xiaobai guarding the entrance with orders to kill anyone who approached. Over the next couple weeks, the top players on the leaderboard barely gained 1 level each. Meanwhile, Huewu's death removed him from the rankings entirely. The gap between me at 1st place and 10th place was now 14 levels. Players everywhere were wondering how I was doing it. Then one day, some familiar faces showed up at the Iron Guard office in Green Mountain City. Wen Yu, Bai Zhixing, and Chu Huatian. Wen Yu wanted me to become the honorary elder of his little gang to give it legitimacy. He'd brought 5 cultivation pills stolen from his father's stash, plus some kind of earth-shaking news he was sure I'd want to hear. While I was training deep in the mine, things were happening back at the Iron Guard office in Green Mountain City. Chen Guqing, the guy I left in charge, was dealing with a player named Luo Yu, a former high-ranking police officer from the real world. Luo Yu had been one of the players I kicked out of the red gold mine for causing trouble. He wanted Chen Guqing to help him start a gang in the city and kept pulling rank from his real-world job, calling himself a senior inspector. He even threatened that one day, when the real world figures out how to access this game world, people like me and Chen Guqing would face punishment. Then when you showed up at the office, the son of a powerful official from the prefecture's Iron Guard headquarters. He came looking for me. Luo Yu saw an opportunity and tried to report me, claiming I was just a refugee with no proper background and shouldn't hold my position. Bad move. When you exploded on him. You're a homeless nobody trying to accuse an 8th rank Iron Guard officer. He ordered Luo Yu beaten with 30 strikes. Luo Yu had completely misjudged the situation. He assumed real-world status mattered here, not realizing that in this world, I'm actually somebody. He tried to backtrack, but Chen Guqing calmly explained that Luo Yu was the ungrateful troublemaker I'd already expelled. When you had him hauled away. Then when you and Chen Guqing headed to the mine to find me. Meanwhile, I just finished absorbing my 8th cultivation pill. My Golden King art was nearly halfway to the 3rd stage. Once it breaks through, I'll be able to boost both strength and agility by 60 points each, enough to stand my ground against 7th rank warriors. It was time to start leveling up again. After finishing my closed-door training, I grabbed my pickaxe and headed straight to the cave to mine. I told Xiaobai to eat the insect cocoons while I worked. We'd both level up at the same time, without getting in each other's way. With my Golden King art running, my strength hit 51 points. I swung the pickaxe so fast my arms looked like a propeller, sparks flying everywhere. In just a short burst, I mined about 20 or 30 pounds of red gold. But the art couldn't stay active forever, so when it wore off, I switched to using my void step footwork while mining. That way I was still training my agility and gaining technique proficiency while collecting ore. My pickaxe got so hot from the friction it started smoking and turning red at the tip. I had to let it cool down, but I never needed to rest myself. Every swing gave me experience that restored my stamina. I basically lived in the mine now. I'd only come out to patrol briefly, grab a basket of flatbread, and go right back down. When Yu and his friends arrived at the mining village looking for me, they waited 2 full days without seeing me. Everyone was amazed that an 8th-rank warrior was this obsessed with mining. Meanwhile, the mining village had become something like a starter town for new players. Hundreds of players were being sent here, and seeing how hard I worked motivated them to push themselves too. Chun Guoqing noted that my approach, giving players a way to strengthen themselves rather than just handing them help, was the best solution for everyone. After a few days of non-stop mining, I hit level 33. I'd also gained over 300 proficiency points in Void Step just from using it while mining, and both my internal arts picked up 90 experience points each. I'd figured out how to train everything simultaneously, mine for levels and money, use footwork for proficiency, and squeeze in internal art practice during cooldown periods. No wasted time. When I finally came out of the mine, I hauled out bags and bags of red gold ore. The miners watching couldn't believe their eyes. The total came to 273 pounds, which converted to 547 taels of silver. Everyone thought I'd been mining non-stop for over 20 days to get that much. They had no idea it was actually just 3 days of work. The rest of the time, I'd been absorbing cultivation pills. The miners were fired up. If the guy at the top of the leaderboard was grinding this hard, they figured they could too. That kind of motivation was exactly what I wanted. After washing up, I sat down with Wen Yu, Bai Zhixing, and Chu Huatian. Wen Yu had 2 pieces of news from his father, who's a high-ranking official at the prefecture's Iron Guard office. First, the good news. Officer Sun Biao had requested a copy of the Iron Guard Heart Method from the capital for me. It's only a 3rd-tier art, but it's the foundation. You need it to be treated as a core member of the Iron Guard, and it's the stepping stone to higher-tier arts down the line. That would lock in my position. But the bigger news was about something called the Water Qilin Cave at the bottom of the Tianyuan River. Apparently, the Water Qilin, a legendary creature, might be waking up. The cave opens maybe once every 80 years, and when it does, rare herbs and treasures appear inside, including something called a water bodhi fruit that massively boosts cultivation. All 4 major sects are making moves, and the Iron Guard is negotiating with them too. Each side plans to send people in. Bai Zhixing and Chu Huatian were stunned. Their families are in the medicine business, so they knew exactly how valuable those rare herbs could be. This was a huge opportunity, and Wen Yu's father had specifically sent his son to make sure I heard about it first. Wen Yu told me more about the Water Qilin Cave. It only opens for 10 days, and on the 10th day the Water Qilin fully wakes up. Anyone still inside dies, no exceptions. But during those 10 days, incredible treasures appear. Last time it opened, 80 years ago, the mining guild found rare, or that was forged into a divine weapon so powerful a 1st-rank land immortal bought it at a huge price. What really caught my attention was the water bodhi fruit, one of 12 legendary, holy medicines of martial arts. When you said a member of our Iron Guard ate 1 years ago, and his internal art instantly leveled up a whole stage. Within 4 years, he went from 7th rank to 4th rank, becoming a grandmaster. That kind of boost would be game-changing for me. There's a catch though. Only warriors at 7th rank or below can enter. Stronger fighters would wake the Qilin immediately. Since I'm roughly at lower 7th rank level, I'd actually qualify. And I still have my invisibility talisman as a trump card. Still, I kept my cool. I told Wen Yu I'd go if the Iron Guard officially sent me, but I wasn't going to chase after it. No point fighting for a spot when I could keep growing steadily on my own. Wen Yu also gave me 5 cultivation pills from his father and asked me to become the honorary elder of his little gang. I turned down the gang offer. They're basically a bunch of rich kids playing around and don't need me. Then he handed me the pills. 5 cultivation pills from his father, the prefecture official. Between the pills and the cave intel, it was clear his father was trying to build a relationship with me. I decided to head back to the prefecture with them. I needed to pick up my upgraded pickaxe from the blacksmith and buy some training pills from the Chu family pharmacy. Just as we were about to leave, 2 pale, weak-looking young players approached me. The woman called my name with a hint of excitement. She looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place her. As I was leaving the mine, 2 pale-looking players approached me. The woman called my name excitedly. It took me a moment, but then I recognized her, Lin Yan, someone I'd briefly dated online. We'd gone out a few times for coffee and meals, but after 3 months she went cold, so I moved on. Now she was here in the game world with her boyfriend Li Jun, who immediately gave me a hostile look. Zhang Yan asked if I could get them easier jobs instead of mining. I told her straight. Mining is the path everyone takes here. It builds your stats and levels you up. Once you gain a few levels, it won't feel so hard. I had things to do, so I told her we'd catch up later and rode off with Wen Yu and the others. In the prefecture, I picked up my new pickaxe from the blacksmith. The 100 forged red gold pickaxe adds 20 strength points and has a rage mode that burns vital energy for a half-hour boost. A big upgrade. I paid 1,000 taels for it. Then I went to the Chu family pharmacy and spent 20,000 taels on 40 high-quality spirit pills. Chu Huatian pulled strings to gather their entire stock across the city for me. 10 pills would push my 12 golden legs to the 3rd mastery stage. The remaining 30 I'd pour into Void Step, pushing it toward the 4th stage. I was basically broke after that, but the investment would pay off massively in combat power. Chu Huatian started calling me Brother Yang, clearly trying to build a closer relationship. Bai Zhixing noticed and started thinking about making his own gesture. Smart businessman. Just then, a beaten-up member of Wen Yu's gang rushed in. Their rival gang, the Dragon Slayer gang, had ambushed them while Wen Yu was away and kidnapped one of their members. The rival gang's leader had recruited a ranked fighter, a real 9th-rank warrior. Wen Yu was furious but worried. His little gang had no real fighters. I figured I had some time, so I offered to come along. Lead the way, I said. Wen Yu was thrilled. I told Bai Zhixing and Chu Huatian they didn't need to come. They were business people, no reason to get mixed up in gang fights. They looked relieved. On the way to the Dragon Slayer gang's headquarters, Wen Yu filled me in on the background. Their leader, He Xiang, is the son of an elder in the mining guild, which is a big deal. The mining guild controls mineral operations across the country, backed by the 1st-rank sect Luohan Temple. I also learned that Liang Yu, the leader of Mountain River sect who runs my red gold mine, is actually a mining guild elder with real influence. The sect's hidden power was much greater than I'd realized. When we arrived, He Xiang came out laughing, confident and cocky. I checked his stats. He was a 9th-rank warrior with decent skills, all connected to Luohan Temple's fighting style. He'd beaten Wen Yu's friend badly and was demanding that Wen Yu's entire gang submit to him. He Xiang had also hired a fighter named Lu Wu, a one-eyed swordsman, as his enforcer. Lu Wu sized me up and decided to start with me. He charged at me with his blade, moving fast enough to scare everyone watching. But I simply raised my hand and caught his blade between 2 fingers. He tried to pull free. I pinched harder and snapped the tip right off. Then I flicked the broken piece past his face, slicing his cheek, and the shard buried itself completely into a wooden pillar behind him. Not even a trace visible. The whole courtyard went silent. When Lu Wu asked who I was, I told him. Iron Guard, Yang Ling. He Xiang's face went pale. He couldn't believe I was working with Wen Yu. But I noticed something more interesting. When Lu Wu heard my name, his expression shifted in a strange way. I opened his stat panel and saw it. His affiliation read, Giant Spirit Gate, the enemy sect tied to the Rong tribe invaders. He wasn't just some hired thug. He was a foreign spy. I kept my face calm and said nothing about it. Not yet. Seeing Lu Wu's affiliation with Giant Spirit Gate confirmed my suspicion. The Rong tribe spies had deeply infiltrated the mining guild. The former mine overseer Wu Kei, He Xiang the gang leader, and now this hired fighter were all connected. The guild was full of holes. I casually announced myself as the Supreme Elder of Wen Yu's gang, which made him ecstatic. He immediately demanded that He Xiang disband the Dragon Slayer gang and hand over all their territory. He Xiang tried to buy me off, offering 10 spirit pills up front and 1 per month if I'd switch sides. I didn't even bother responding. I just had Wen Yu grab his beaten friend and we left. I didn't expose Lu Wu as a spy in front of everyone. That card was better played later. Next, I went to see Officer Sher Xian at the Iron Guard headquarters. He wasn't surprised about the Water Chillin cave, but he figured out something I hadn't. Wen Yu's father likely has ties to the medicine guild. The cultivation pills and the tip about the cave were his way of hoping I'd sell him any rare herbs I found inside. Sher Xian told me that most treasures from the cave you can keep or sell freely. But there's one exception: scales shed by the water Qilin itself. Those must be turned over to the state. No exceptions. The penalty is execution of your entire family. The scales are incredible. Even a 4th-rank Grandmaster can't pierce armor made from them. If that material fell into enemy hands, it would be catastrophic. Then Sure Xian got competitive. He scoffed at the idea that only when used Father or Cloud Maiden could get me a spot. Don't I have connections too? He said he'd write to his superior in the capital to secure me a slot personally. He mentioned that if I were at upper 7th rank, the spot would be guaranteed. I did the math. With all my techniques stacked, my strength could hit 78 and my agility over 110. I could definitely beat Sun Biao in a fair fight, which technically makes me lower 7th rank. But I decided to keep that hidden. A warrior this young at 7th rank would attract way too much attention. I put on my 8th rank Iron Guard uniform and went to visit Officer Wen Kongxian at his department. The other guards there recognized me right away and started chatting, wanting to learn about my detective work. They were friendly and offered me tea. Before I could sit down, a blood-covered guard burst in shouting that their chief Wen Kongxian was injured and trapped in a valley in the western outskirts. A group of bandits had fire oil and had him surrounded. The whole squad of guards assembled in under 2 minutes. I told them I'd come along. When we got there, the situation was bad. Wen Kongxian and his men were surrounded by flames, with the fire closing in. Up on a hill stood over a dozen bandits who clearly weren't ordinary criminals. They all had near 9th rank fighting ability, and they were armed with hand crossbows, which are rare military-grade weapons. Even the Iron Guard barely has any of those. This was clearly an organized assassination, not a random bandit attack. When Kongxian realized it was a trap aimed specifically at him, and he shouted at the reinforcements to retreat. The bandit leader laughed and raised his crossbow, ready to shoot everyone. That's when I moved. A few seconds was all it took. I blurred through them so fast nobody could track me. I cut off every single bandit's arms and kicked out their knees. By the time they started screaming, it was already over. The guards on both sides just stood there in shock. I told them to stop staring and go put out the fire. I introduced myself formally to Wen Kongxian. He was relieved and grateful. He quickly had his men stop the bleeding on the bandits. He wanted them alive for questioning, because these were clearly no ordinary criminals. The weapons, the planning, the ambush, everything pointed to something much bigger, possibly Rome tribe spies. The bandit leader stared at me with a mix of terror and rage and shouted, "Why are you here?" He clearly hadn't planned for someone like me showing up. The bandit leader recognized me. Apparently, Young 8 rank is a name everyone knows now. I checked all their stats, but couldn't find any connection to Giant Spirit Gate. They were suspicious, but I couldn't pin down who sent them. Officer Wen Kongxian thanked me formally in front of all his men. If I hadn't been there, his whole unit might have been wiped out. He invited me to dinner at his home that evening. When I arrived, Wen Yu was at the door, eyes red, barely holding back tears. He'd heard how close his father came to dying. Wen Kongxian sent his son and nephew out and got straight to business over drinks. He confirmed what Sure Xian had guessed. He's connected to the medicine guild. The 5 cultivation pills weren't actually from him. They were from the guild. Their condition is simple. If I make it into the Water Qilin cave, I sell any rare herbs I find to them first. I agreed. Seemed fair enough for 5 pills I'd already taken. Then I asked if the medicine guild could supply more cultivation pills. When Kongxian explained that pills are scarce everywhere. The demand from sects, guilds, and government offices far exceeds supply. And the further you advance your internal art, the more pills you need. 200 to go from the 3rd stage to the 4th, 2,000 for the 4th to 5th. No wonder most warriors I've met are stuck at middling levels. He shared his own frustration. His Iron Guard art has been at the 3rd stage for years with no hope of reaching the 4th unless he gets a holy medicine like the Water Bodhi. Then he offered me a deal. He'd asked the medicine guild to front me more pills now. In return, if I enter the cave, I must sell all herbs exclusively to them, not just give them priority. If I don't get in, I just pay back the cost later. I accepted immediately. This was huge. With enough pills, my Golden King art could break through to the 3rd stage soon. That would push my strength and agility boosts to 60 points each, putting me solidly at upper 7th rank level. I just need to be careful not to appear too strong before entering the cave, since anyone above 7th rank isn't allowed in. Just as we were talking, someone burst through the door in a panic, asking if Wen Kongxian was hurt. The man who rushed in was Cui Tao, a captain under Wen Kongxian, also an 8th-rank fighter. His stats were solid, nearly as strong as Sure Xian's. He seemed worried about his boss, asking about the bandits and the fire oil. But my 60-point spirit power picked up something the others couldn't. Cui Tao smelled like fire oil. I quietly used my insight skill on him and got a clear result. He had secretly delivered a batch of fire oil to his sworn brother the day before. The same fire oil those bandits used in the ambush. This wasn't an attack by foreign spies. This was an inside job, a power grab. Cui Tao was trying to get his boss killed so he could take over as acting chief. I kept my mouth shut and acted normal through the rest of dinner. This wasn't the time to reveal what I knew. Back at my lodging, I chatted with Lin Yan, who explained that if a chief dies, his top captain takes over. Cui Tao was exactly in that position. Lin Yan also mentioned that Sure Xian was planning to transfer me to the prefecture soon as a captain under him. A step up, even if less freedom than running things in Green Mountain City. That night, I got to work on my pills. I used 10 spirit pills to push the 12 golden legs technique to the 3rd mastery stage, giving me 18 strength points when activated. Then I dumped all 30 remaining spirit pills into Void Step, pushing its proficiency to over 15,000 out of 100,000 needed for the next stage. I also spent 12 hours practicing both internal arts, 6 hours each, earning 30 experience points for both. That alone eats half my day. Between internal arts, combat techniques, and leveling up through mining, I'd need 96 hours in a day to do everything. Pills are the only way to make up the difference. My next goals were clear: break through Golden King art to the 3rd stage, and advance Void Step to the 4th mastery level. Those 2 upgrades would give me the biggest power jump in the shortest time. Then a message came. Wen Kongxuan's nephew, Wen Xiaoba, was at the door asking for me. Wen Xiaoba brought me back to the Wen residence, where I met Dai Huijin from the Medicine Guild. I checked his stats. He was a lower 7th-rank fighter from Deadman's Valley, a 2nd-tier sect. Seriously powerful, with 62 strength and combat techniques at the 4th mastery stage. Without warning, he flicked 2 silver needles at me. I dodged instantly. Turns out it was a test. The Medicine Guild needs to verify your worth investing in before handing over pills. He was impressed by my speed and said he'd push to get me a spot in the Water Chillin cave. Then he handed me a box of 10 high-quality cultivation pills and said something surprising. This wasn't a loan, it was an investment. Even if I never make it to the cave, I don't have to pay anything back. That softened my mood considerably. As he was leaving, Dai casually mentioned he'd seen Cui Tao, Wen Kongxuan's captain, having tea with Lu Wu, the spy I'd identified from the Dragon Slayer gang. That was alarming. I'd thought Cui Tao's betrayal was just a power grab, but his connection to Lu Wu suggested the Rome tribe's spy network might be involved after all. I was planning to tell Sure Xian about Cui Tao when suddenly Wen Xiaoba burst in, white as a ghost. Dai Huijin was dead, killed on the street, less than 15 minutes after leaving us, barely 100 yards from Wen Kongxuan's front door. We rushed to the scene. There he was, lying on his back, a dark bruise on his forehead from what looked like a single punch. His eyes were still wide open. A lower 7th-rank fighter, killed with 1 blow, in broad daylight, in the heart of the prefecture, right next to a senior Iron Guard officer's home. A chill shot through me and I activated my Golden King art, going into combat mode. Whatever did this was far beyond anything I'd faced before. Wen Kongxian was furious and shaken. He ordered me to go find Sure Xian immediately. This needed the security division's involvement. He suspected it was connected to the ambush from yesterday. He told me to bring guards with me, so I left with 8 Iron Guard officers, moving fast toward headquarters. On my way to the Iron Guard headquarters, I stayed on high alert. When I arrived, I found Sure Xian chatting with a middle-aged man. I heard Sure Xian call him Dongfeng. He Dongfeng, the mining guild elder and father of the Dragon Slayer gang's leader. I checked his stats and my blood ran cold. Strength 81, Agility 53, and his affiliation read Mining Guild and Giant Spirit Gate. This man was a Rome tribe spy, and possibly the most dangerous one I'd encountered. He was likely upper 7th rank, far stronger than anyone else in the prefecture. He might even be Giant Spirit Gate's sect leader. Sure Xian, completely unaware, cheerfully introduced us, praising me as the young hero who'd killed Rome spies at the mine. Every compliment made my skin crawl. I was standing right next to the enemy, and if he Dongfeng attacked, I might survive, but sure Xian would die instantly. I used my insight skill. The result confirmed my worst fear. He Dongfeng had personally killed Dai Huijin on the street today. I kept my face completely blank. I reported Dai Huijin's death as if I had no idea who did it. He Dongfeng played along perfectly, acting shocked. Sure Xian sent him away and rushed to the crime scene with me. Along the way, Sure Xian casually told me He Dongfeng's background, registered as 8th rank, respected in the mining guild, trusted by the guild master. He had no idea the man was actually upper 7th rank and a foreign agent. The bigger picture was becoming terrifyingly clear. Cui Tao wanted to kill Wen Kongxian to take his position. Lu Wu, a rogue spy, was Cui Tao's sworn brother. He Dongfeng was above them all, pulling strings. If their plan worked, the Rong tribe would effectively control the Iron Guard's investigation division. And this same method could be used across every prefecture in the country. At the crime scene, all 3 division chiefs gathered, Sure Xian, Cloud Maiden, and Sun Biao. When Kongxian explained why Dai Huijin had visited him, including the cultivation pills for me, everyone was surprised. Then Cloud Maiden turned to me with a sharp look. You're good at solving cases, and you have a keen nose. Do you have any leads? Everyone looked at me, expecting me to find a clue. But I could feel He Dongfeng watching me from somewhere nearby. If I revealed what I knew right there, it could be catastrophic. So I shook my head and said I had nothing. I figured out why He Dongfeng killed Dai Huijin in broad daylight instead of quietly. It wasn't careless, it was strategic. Just like the failed ambush on Wen Kongxian, the goal was to embarrass the Iron Guard leadership. If Sun Biao couldn't solve this murder case, he'd lose his position as security chief. Then whoever replaced him could be someone the Rong spies controlled. It was the same playbook: remove the real leaders, install puppets. Things got worse when the Internal Affairs Division showed up. Their chief, Zhang Tai, gave Sun Biao 3 days to solve the case or he'd report it to the capital. Everyone hated the guy, but he had the authority. I realized I couldn't tell Sure Xian or Sun Biao what I knew. They were only 8th rank, and without hard evidence, they might not act fast enough. I needed someone with the power to actually take down an upper 7th rank fighter. So I went to Cloud Maiden privately. She was surprised I came to her instead of speaking up at the scene. I told her I had a lead, but no solid proof yet, and I needed someone at her level to help me get it. My plan was simple: go straight for the head. No peeling back layers, no working up from small fry. He Dongfeng was the killer and the mastermind. Capture him, and everything else falls into place. I started telling her the story from the beginning. My visit to the Dragon Slayer gang, where I first discovered Lu Wu was a giant Spirit Gate spy. She frowned, not seeing the connection yet, since the Dragon Slayer gang was just a bunch of kids playing at being gangsters. But the thread I was pulling went much deeper than that. I laid out the whole chain for Cloud Maiden. Lu Wu at the Dragon Slayer gang is a giant Spirit Gate spy. Cui Tao, Wen Kongshuan's trusted captain, is Lu Wu's sworn brother and secretly supplied the fire oil used in the ambush. Dai Huijin was killed because he spotted Cui Tao and Lu Wu together at a tea house. If those bandits ever talked, the trail would lead to Cui Tao, then to Lu Wu, and then to an entire spy network. I told her the killers would probably go after Wen Kongxian again soon, this time sending the 7th rank fighter personally. Once both Wen Kongxian and Dai Huijin were dead, the connection to Cui Tao and Lu Wu would disappear. Cloud Maiden assumed I wanted her to arrest Cui Tao and Lu Wu. I shook my head. If we're going to catch someone, we catch the big one. I meant the 7th rank killer himself, He Dongfeng. Capturing him could expose the entire Rong spy network in the prefecture. She was skeptical at first. How could I possibly identify a 7th rank fighter? I told her my senses are extremely sharp. To prove it, I casually mentioned that she herself is a 7th rank fighter, not just an upper 8th rank, as everyone assumes. The courtyard went dead silent. She stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. Your nose really is something. I named He Dongfeng directly. She was hesitant. He's a mining guild elder with connections everywhere. If we move on him and come up empty, the consequences would be severe. I told her I was certain, and that his real strength was above what he showed publicly. She calculated her chances. Her second-tier blue dragon art at the third mastery stage would outperform his two third-tier arts. She figured she was slightly stronger overall. I told her to focus entirely on He Dongfeng while I handled anything else that came up. She laughed. I was just an upper 8th rank. What could I do against a 7th rank backup? So I told her the truth. I'm actually lower 7th rank. Her expression changed instantly. Without a word, she attacked me. In a flash, we were both powering up and trading blows across the courtyard, testing each other's real strength. Cloud Maiden tested me right there in her courtyard. I checked her stats. With her blue dragon art and footwork active, her strength hit 136 and agility 108. With her blade technique added, she'd reach 148 strength and 120 agility. She was terrifyingly strong. I powered up everything except my blade. My agility reached 95, strength only 59. She blocked my kicks like they were nothing and told me I wasn't 7th rank. So I drew my Jiao Bone Blade and activated my blade technique. Strength jumped to 78, agility to 114. Now I was actually faster than her by 6 points. She noticed the difference immediately. She admitted my speed was 7th rank level, though my strength was lacking. Then she drew her own blade and unleashed her full power. I got pushed back to the wall, hands numb. She stopped and smiled. I wasn't lying. I qualified as lower 7th rank. She was in. Just the two of us would go after He Dongfeng tonight. No one else, since we couldn't be sure the Iron Guard wasn't infiltrated. She lent me a high-quality metal crossbow for backup since my strength wasn't enough for close combat against him. That night, we snuck into the He residence. With my 60-point spirit power, I could hear everything inside clearly. He Dongfeng was talking with Cui Tao, planning to kill both me and Wen Kongxian. He promised Cui Tao the division chief position and mentioned they'd install someone else as security chief if Sun Biao fell. Cloud Maiden couldn't hear the conversation, but she saw Cui Tao leave secretly, which confirmed my intel. We waited over an hour, then Cloud Maiden moved in. The moment she got close, He Dongfeng exploded through his door like a wild beast, skin gleaming with a metallic sheen. His strength surged to 124 with his arts active. Cloud Maiden met him with her full power, unleashing blade techniques she hadn't shown me earlier. He recognized her fighting style and dodged rather than clash head-on. Then his agility suddenly spiked by 30 points. He was using giant spirit flying knife technique. I fired the crossbow to intercept a flying knife headed for Cloud Maiden. My bolt shattered against his knife, but it neutralized the attack. Cloud Maiden recognized that technique instantly. Giant spirit flying knife, the sect leader's secret art. He Dongfeng, you're the giant spirit gate sect leader. She charged in to fight him up close. The fight went exactly as planned. Cloud Maiden kept He Dongfeng locked in close combat, while I circled around with the crossbow, cutting off his escape routes. Two 8th rank bodyguards tried to rush Cloud Maiden from behind, but I moved through them like a ghost. They didn't even see my face before their heads hit the ground. Speed makes all the difference. He Dongfeng was furious, screaming that he should have killed me at the Iron Guard office. But it was too late for regrets. He couldn't shake Cloud Maiden, and every time he tried to create distance for his flying knife technique, I'd fire a bolt from a new angle. After a few minutes of this, I finally put a bolt through his kneecap. He collapsed, and Cloud Maiden had her blade at his throat instantly. His son He Xiong had already fled the city. The old man had seen trouble coming, but capturing him was enough. He was the giant spirit gate sect leader, the biggest rogue spy in our entire prefecture. Within an hour, the Iron Guard leadership swarmed the estate. When Cloud Maiden explained everything, how I'd traced the connections from Lu Wu to Cui Tao to He Dongfeng, everyone stared at me with strange expressions. Sure, Xian was a little hurt I hadn't come to him. I explained that only a 7th rank fighter could take He Dongfeng quietly without him escaping. Then came the awkward question. How did I know Cloud Maiden was secretly 7th rank? She covered for me, calling it a sensitivity between high-level fighters. When Kongxian felt guilty about Dai Huaijian's death, but Cloud Maiden pointed out the harsh truth. If we'd tipped anyone off early, He Dongfeng would have just gone deeper underground, and the damage would have been far worse. Cloud Maiden offered to share credit with everyone, but made sure my contribution was recognized. Sun Biao was thrilled. They'd solved the case in 1 day instead of 3, and exposed the Rong tribe's top spy. A massive achievement. They found He Dongfeng's flying knife manual on him. I eyed it. A range technique that boosts agility would pair perfectly with my fighting style. Cloud Maiden noticed and smiled. The enemy's manual gets turned in, but your reward might include a flying knife technique from our own Iron Guard. That night, the entire Iron Guard machine kicked into gear. Sun Biao took charge of interrogating He Dongfeng personally, and he wasn't gentle about it. He used a small knife to cut the man's tendons one by one. Hands, feet, everything. Each cut meant He Dongfeng's martial arts were being permanently destroyed. It was brutal, but effective. Chui Tao crumbled the moment he saw it. He confessed everything. How Lu Wu had manipulated him, how the western suburb ambush was their doing, and how he'd gradually realized He Dongfeng was a foreign agent but was already in too deep to back out. He swore he never meant to betray the country. Nobody in the room believed him. The bandits from before also started talking once they saw the situation. Their stories matched Chui Tao's. The three internal affairs chiefs were brought in to witness everything, including Zhang Tai, who'd given us only 3 days. We solved it in one. Sun Biao was practically glowing. By morning, He Dongfeng had given up a list of names, fellow spies scattered across the prefecture. Sun Biao warned that some names might be fake, thrown in to cause chaos, but ordered everyone arrested anyway. Cloud Maiden personally led the raids, pulling people out of their beds all night. Lin Yan, my senior from internal affairs, was amazed. He told me a rogue 7th-rank spy running loose could have slaughtered countless people. Capturing He Dongfeng quietly was the real achievement. Afterward, Cloud Maiden gave me 2 pieces of great news. First, the water Qilin cave would open in 1 to 1.5 months. Plenty of time to use my 15 cultivation pills. With this mission's credit plus my lower 7th-rank strength, my spot was practically guaranteed. Second, my reward for the mission would arrive soon, possibly including a flying knife technique. She also handed me a slip of paper with a name, He Chiobai, a rogue spy hiding in Mountain River sect. I wasn't surprised. I'd suspected him for a while. She told me to arrest him on my way back. Then she asked me something unexpected. What do you think of Liang Yu, the Mountain River sect leader? Cloud Maiden assured me that Liang Yu, the Mountain River sect leader, wasn't on the spy list, just that he was also a mining guild elder like He Dongfeng. She told me to go arrest He Chiobai at the sect and lent me her crossbow until after the Water Qilin Cave mission. I went alone. With my speed, bringing backup would just slow me down, and if things went sideways, I could escape easily. Liang Yu's strength was at most mid-7th rank, and I was confident in my abilities now. When I arrived, I asked Liang Yu to gather all his senior disciples. He could tell something was wrong, but cooperated without questions. Once everyone assembled, I dropped the news. He Dongfeng had been captured and confirmed as the Giant Spirit Gate sect leader, a Rome tribe spy. He'd given up names. Everyone gasped. Then I said one of those names was He Chiobai. He Chiobai tried playing the victim first, claiming I had a personal grudge. But Liang Yu didn't fall for it. He told He Chiobai to go quietly. If he was innocent, he'd be released. That's when He Chiobai snapped. He cursed his own master and dropped the act completely. To my surprise, he then offered to cooperate fully, on one condition, no torture. I agreed. His first move was pointing at his own disciple, Yang Jiwen, also a spy, the one who'd been smuggling fire crystal ore out through the former overseer Wu Kei. Su Qing, a fellow disciple, just laughed at Yang Jiwen. Senior brother, you really are a piece of work. He Chiobai asked for pen and paper, then wrote down over 30 names, spies hidden among mine managers, businessmen in Green Mountain City, and others. He sighed as he wrote, calling them his former brothers. This went smoother than I expected. Once I shipped him off to the prefecture, I could get back to the mine and focus on what really mattered, pushing my Golden King art to the 3rd stage. After delivering He Chiobai to the prefecture, I went straight back to mine Tunnel 36 to focus on what mattered most, breaking through my Golden King art. To the 3rd stage, I settled into a strict routine. Take a cultivation pill every 3 days, mine for levels in between, and train my techniques during cooldowns. I discovered I could dual-wield both pickaxes and use the rage mode alongside my rapid strike skill at the same time, which made my mining speed insane. My old regular pickaxe eventually shattered from overuse, but the 100-forged one held up great with its 20-point strength bonus. The leaderboard barely moved. Lin Tsai and the others only gained 1 level in all this time. I hit level 34 and put my point into agility, bringing it to 30. After about a month of grinding, I'd used 10 cultivation pills. On the last one, the Golden King art finally broke through to the third stage, proficient mastery. The rewards were enormous. I got 20 free stat points, my strength and agility boosts during activation jumped to 60 each, my health nearly doubled to 1,110, and my vital energy doubled to 200. I also unlocked a new skill called Indestructible Diamond Body. It multiplies my defense by 10 times, lasting as long as my vital energy holds out. I decided to save those 20 free points for now. If I push my stats too high, I might cross into 6th rank territory, which would disqualify me from entering the Water Chillin Cave. I ran the numbers on my full combat stats. With everything active, Golden King Art, Void Step, 12 Golden Legs, Tiger Capture Blade, and the Jiao Bone Blade, my strength hit 108 and my agility reached 145. That's on par with He Dongfeng and Cloud Maiden. Before, I was a shaky lower 7th rank. Now I was solidly upper 7th rank. That's the power of a first-tier art. One breakthrough and I leaped from pretending to be 7th rank to genuinely being one of the strongest fighters in the prefecture. I tested my new diamond body skill right away. I had Xiao Bai hit my arm with its blade attack. Sparks flew like metal striking metal, and my skin only showed white scratch marks. No damage at all. Then I shot myself in the palm with the crossbow. The arrow only went halfway in and barely took 5 health points. A weapon that can kill 7th rank fighters couldn't even pierce my hand. The skill burns vital energy based on how strong the incoming attack is, so it's not great for long fights. But in a critical moment, it could save my life. Then a massive wave of cold energy suddenly flooded into me. The spy case had been officially closed, and since I played the key role in taking down hundreds of rogue agents, the system rewarded me with enough experience to jump 3 whole levels, from 34 to 37. I now had 23 free stat points saved up, but I kept them unspent to avoid accidentally crossing into 6th rank territory before the cave mission. The leaderboard gap was getting ridiculous. I was at 37, Lin Yan and the top 4 were around 30, and everyone else was in the low 20s. The level 40 treasure chest was mine. Nobody could catch me. Then trouble arrived at the mining village. A group of monks from Bitter Awakening Temple showed up at my quarters while I was in the mine. Their leader was a man named Jumming from the temple's warrior monk hall, Hui Wu's master. He demanded to see me, and when Chen Su politely explained I wasn't home, the monk casually slapped him across the yard, nearly killing him in one hit. Chen Su lost half his health instantly. By the time I got there, Xiao Chun was shakily pouring medicine down his throat. The other players had gathered defensively, but they were no match for this monk. I helped Chen Su up, told him to never risk his life blocking someone like that again. The monk stared me down and introduced himself, Jumming, from the warrior monk hall of Bitter Awakening Temple. He said he'd come to collect his disciple Hui Wu and told me to bring him out. The players around us tensed. They all knew Hui Wu was dead. He'd vanished from the leaderboard weeks ago, and he'd died right here at the mine. By my hand. I checked Jumming's stats. His strength was 67 and agility 42, roughly the same level as Liang Yu, somewhere between lower and mid 7th rank. Nothing I couldn't handle, even before my breakthrough. He demanded I hand over Hui Wu. A player monk backing him up explained that Hui Wu had told them before leaving that he was going to find me, and if he didn't come back, I'd killed him. The players watching figured out pretty quickly what actually happened. Hui Wu came here to rob me of my leveling secrets, and it didn't end well for him. I didn't confirm or deny anything. Instead, I went on the offensive. I reminded Jumming that accusing an 8th rank Iron Guard is a serious crime, and that we just busted a massive rogue spy network connected to the mining guild, which is closely tied to their temple's backers. I suggested he come with me to the Iron Guard office for questioning. That rattled him. He knew exactly how the country treats suspected spies. He got angry and charged at me, activating everything he had. His power was terrifying in one direction, pure strength. His Bitter Awakening scripture boosted his strength by 70, his staff technique added 36, and his weapon added another 15. His total strength hit 188, the highest I'd ever seen on anyone. One clean hit from that staff would take hundreds of health points. But his agility? Even with his movement technique active, only 51. Completely lopsided. That confirmed something important about the gap between first-tier and second-tier arts. His scripture at the third stage gives 70 to 1 stat. My Golden King art gives 60 to both. That's 50 total points more. The higher you go, the wider the gap gets. He slammed his staff into the ground where I'd been standing. It left a crater and made the earth shake. The players watching backed away in shock, suddenly reminded that this game world has superhuman power. He swung at me over and over, each strike coated in vital energy. I dodged every single one without even drawing my blade, just studying his fighting patterns. After more than a dozen swings, he hadn't touched my clothes. He screamed at me to face him head-on. I almost laughed. Only a fool would trade blows with 188 strength when they don't have to. The fight was a joke. My agility was so far above Jumming's that his attacks looked like slow motion to me. It was like an adult fighting a 70-year-old grandmother. Except this grandmother could break bones if she connected. I dodged over 100 strikes without getting touched once. His vital energy was draining, and he was getting frustrated. Then I went on offense, punching his bald head with Mountain Crush fist, kicking his backside with golden legs. I was playing with him. He couldn't land a single hit while I pounded him from every angle. After dozens more hits, he was stumbling around like a drunk, swinging at air. His head was covered in bumps, his eyes swollen shut. I knocked his staff away, then went all out, fists and kicks from the front, beating him back over 100 meters before I finally stopped. When he came to his senses, I told him I suspected he was a rogue spy and he was coming with me to the Iron Guard. He panicked. I explained the timing. The giant spirit gate leader had just been captured, and now a monk tied to the same network shows up to cause trouble? Very suspicious. That terrified him. He suddenly realized how bad this looked and started backpedaling, calling everything a misunderstanding. He turned on the player monk who'd fed him the information about Huawu, realizing the kid had basically set him up. The player panicked and blurted out, "I'm a player," trying to appeal to me. I slapped him unconscious. No way I was letting him expose the player's secret in front of all these native witnesses. I marched the whole group toward the prefecture, Jumming, the player, and all their monk escorts. None of them dared resist. The thousands of miners and players watching as we left got the message loud and clear: don't cause trouble at my mine. I told Wu Xiaoqing to watch over things while I was gone, and to call for backup from the Iron Guard if anyone stirred up problems. Nobody in that crowd could even meet my eyes. At the Iron Guard headquarters, the 3 division chiefs put on a show of intimidating Jumming. Sure Xian pointed out that we'd just arrested over 1,300 people, including 384 confirmed rogue spies, and Jumming picked this exact moment to come cause trouble? He accused Jumming of being a spy and threw him in jail. The monk didn't dare argue. He knew what these people were capable of. Once the monks were gone, the mood lightened completely. It was reward time. First, 5 cultivation pills. That brought my total to 10, enough to push my divine ape chart forward. Sun Biao explained that the spy ring we'd busted was costing the country more than 500 pills worth of damage every year, so 5 pills was nothing. Then came the big news. Sun Biao was being promoted to the capital. Sure Xian would take over as acting chief of Security Division 1. And Cloud Maiden and I had confirmed spots for the Water Chelan Cave expedition. The second reward was a martial arts manual, the Divine Will Blade, a second-tier flying knife technique seized from an extinct enemy sect called the Heavens Will Gate. I opened it and almost lost my composure. It boosts agility at every level, up to 70 points at mastery, and comes with 4 special skills: Ice Blade, Fire Blade, Thunder Blade, and the ultimate Divine Will Blade. Even my Void Step only has 1 special skill at the highest level. This thing had 4. There was a catch. The Iron Guard had given this manual to at least 10 people before, and nobody could even get past the entry level. They suspected it might be fake. Cloud Maiden said if I couldn't learn it, I could swap it for a lesser third-tier technique later. Then I saw the requirement: 60 spirit points to begin training. That explained everything. Cloud Maiden, a prodigy from a first-tier sect, only has 20 spirit. Nobody in the Iron Guard would come close to 60. But I have exactly 60, thanks to the Divine Ape chart. I met the threshold perfectly. I kept a straight face and pocketed the manual without learning it on the spot. No need to reveal my secrets. The third reward was a chance at promotion. The capital was arranging a 7th-rank Iron Guard assessment for me, based on my performance in the water chillin cave. If I did well, I'd come out as a 7th rank officer, equal in rank to the division chiefs themselves. Cloud Maiden confirmed the timeline. We had 10 days before meeting at the Tianyuan River. The Iron Guard was sending 30 young 7th rank fighters, and our main job was protecting the 4th prince, who wanted to personally find a water bodhi fruit and some chillin scales as a birthday gift for the emperor. He's only 22, but already upper 7th rank. Everyone thought it was risky for royalty, but nobody could argue with imperial wishes. Back at Lin Yan's place, I immediately learned the divine will blade technique. It absorbed into my mind easily. The 60 spirit requirement was no problem. But then I discovered the real headache. The first level trains normally, but after that, the second level requires practicing in freezing snow. The third needs actual fire. The fourth needs lightning. Where am I supposed to find lightning in a world without electricity? I couldn't even use spirit pills on it. I tested with a pill after reaching the first mastery stage. The system simply didn't list divine will blade as an option. I tried training it manually too, but after the first stage, hours of practice added 0 proficiency. The conditions are absolute. I went to the weapon market and ordered 1,000 forged red gold throwing knives from my blacksmith, plus bought 100 regular ones with a special belt to carry them all. Over the next few days, I practiced throwing knives in the courtyard. With 60 spirit points, my accuracy improved incredibly fast. Within half an hour, I felt natural with them. The technique hit the first mastery stage after a day, giving me 8 extra agility points. But that's where progress stopped without the special environments. When Cloud Maiden asked if I'd learned it, I told her I hadn't broken through yet. She didn't question it. Everyone else had failed completely. She offered to take me to the capital afterward for a replacement, if needed. We rode for 7 days straight until we reached Cloud Pattern Provincial Capital, the staging point closest to the Tianyuan River. Iron Guard officers were already waiting at the gates. Leading the welcome party was a tall, handsome 9th rank guard named Qin Mo, a name I recognized from the leaderboard. A fellow player. I checked Qin Mo's stats and was genuinely surprised. Despite being ranked near the bottom of the leaderboard at level 21, his actual combat stats were incredible: 48 strength, 32 agility, and 2 internal arts, both at the second mastery stage. He was stronger than Sure Xin and Sun Biao in raw attributes. He had clearly stumbled into some serious opportunities, including techniques that weren't from the Iron Guard. Everyone who makes the leaderboard has extraordinary luck, it seems. They just show it in different ways. Cloud Maiden introduced us at the gate, and I noticed Qin Mo flinch slightly when he heard my name. My sharp perception caught it, though he recovered fast. He led us to the Provincial Iron Guard headquarters, far grander than anything at the prefecture level. Cloud Maiden explained that every chief here must be at least 7th rank, and a 6th rank master oversees the whole place. They also have the powerful divine crossbow, capable of killing even 5th rank fighters. Then a middle-aged man came out and called Cloud Maiden by name. It was Lu Yunshun, the highest-ranking chief in the province, a 6th rank master. His stats were staggering: 106 base strength, 73 agility, techniques all at the 4th or 3rd mastery stage, and affiliations with both the 9 Immortals Temple and the Iron Guard. He was also Cloud Maiden's uncle. He looked me over and told me bluntly, the capital was watching me closely. My 7th rank assessment would be based entirely on my performance in the water chillin cave. If I failed, I'd have to wait years for another shot. The 9th rank guards were stunned. 2 7th rank fighters, both this young? They started falling over themselves to serve me, offering food, baths, everything. After chasing them all away, Qin Mo closed the door, turned to me with a serious expression, and said something unexpected. Comrade Yang. He was using real-world language. He knew I was a player. Qin Mo confirmed he was a player by calling me Comrade Yang. I stayed cautious, but acknowledged it. He was thrilled to meet me and immediately asked how I leveled up so fast. I checked him out. Despite being only level 21, his actual stats were strong enough for lower 8th rank. He had 2 internal arts at the 2nd mastery stage, including techniques he'd gotten through his own lucky encounters. But he deliberately hid his real strength, registered as only 9th rank, to avoid being sent on dangerous missions. Smart guy. He'd seen a fellow player die early on, and when a later arrival confirmed that player never returned to reality, Qin Mo understood. Death here is permanent. I told him what I tell everyone. I level up by mining. He was skeptical, so I pointed him to the hundreds of players mining at my red gold mine. Wu Xiaoqing's rapid rise proved it worked. He rushed off that same night to try mining at a local mine. The next morning he came back filthy, scratched up from fighting mine bugs, but he'd gained a level. He admitted mining was definitely faster than waiting around for criminals to catch. But then he sighed. After a few hours underground doing the same repetitive swinging in the dark, he nearly lost his mind. He's been living comfortably as a provincial Iron Guard officer. Good food, good wine, plenty of friends, and bribes rolling in to buy skill pills. Going from that lifestyle to grinding in a dark hole was too much. He decided he'd mine a few days a month at most. Any more, and he'd go crazy before he leveled up. I understood. He and I started from completely different places. I began as a homeless nobody, so mining felt like an upgrade. For him, it was a step down. He looked at me with genuine wonder and muttered, "How much mining did you have to do to become number one?" Meanwhile, I used these days to catch up on my internal arts training. During the week-long ride with Cloud Maiden, I couldn't practice without revealing my secrets, so I had days of lost progress to make up. I told Qin Mo that mining isn't the only way to level up. Solving big cases works too. I gained 3 levels from the spy case alone. I suggested he stop hiding his real strength and register at his true rank, so the Iron Guard would trust him with important assignments. He liked the idea, but immediately asked to follow me instead and be my sidekick. I wasn't ready for that. I barely knew the guy. I told him opportunities were bigger at the provincial level anyway. Then he told me an incredible story. When he first arrived in this world, he worked at the Waterway Guild since he'd been a competitive swimmer in real life. Someone pushed him into the river out of jealousy, and a massive catfish swallowed him whole. He cut his way out from the inside, leveling up several times. But the catfish had carried him to an underground frozen wasteland connected to the Tianyuan River bottom. He survived 7 days there by drinking the catfish's warm blood and eating its meat, which boosted all his stats. He found a frozen corpse of a warrior carrying 2 technique manuals, the water-crossing heart method and ice frost fist. The heart method let him hold his breath underwater for an hour, which is how he eventually swam back through a miles-long underwater tunnel to the river. My ears perked up at one detail: frozen wasteland. That's exactly the environment needed to train my Divine Will Blade's second stage. And the place was almost certainly connected to the Water Chilin cave. Qin Mo tried to talk me out of going, saying it was too dangerous. I told him I had to take the chance. Later, I was called to the courtyard where a group of young 7th-rank fighters had gathered. All natives, no players, every one of them at least lower 7th rank. They were sizing me up. One of them spoke up coldly. He was Dai Huijin's junior from Deadman's Valley. He blamed the entire Long River Prefecture Iron Guard for letting his senior brother get killed on the street and demanded to know what right I had to enter the Water Chilin cave. A fighter named Li Huai from Deadman's Valley confronted me. He was Dai Huijin's junior brother and blamed our entire prefecture for letting his senior get killed. Lu Yunshin shut him down, pointing out that the capital had already ruled our team performed brilliantly, and that my spot was earned more legitimately than anyone else's. Cloud Maiden told me privately not to worry about Li Huai. He was just venting grief. She also said this gathering would be my chance to see the real martial world up close, with famous elders and top disciples from every major sect. We went to the Imperial Travel Palace where the 4th Prince was staying. The garden was packed with young fighters from every major power. I quietly scanned everyone's stats. They were all 7th rank, lower, mid, and upper. Then I spotted familiar names from the leaderboard. Lin Sai from 9 Immortals Temple, Jiang Tian Ai from Blazing Sword Manor, Zhang Xindao from Divine Sect, and Li Shou from Luoan Temple. All 4 first-tier sect players were here. Their actual combat stats were around 8th rank level. Strong, but not as impressive as their rankings suggested. Inside a silk-draped pavilion sat the 4th Prince with about a dozen figures, 6th-rank masters from each first-tier sect and Iron Guard officials. Lu Yunshin went in to present our 30-person team. I did the math from the outside. Each of the 5 major factions, for sects plus the Iron Guard, had roughly 30 spots. The second-tier sects would have fewer each, but more groups total. All told, probably 500 or 600 7th and 8th rank fighters would enter the cave. Then a large monk in yellow robes from Luoan Temple spoke up with, A pointed comment, saying the Iron Guard had gone overboard catching spies, even arresting compassionate monks. That was clearly about Jumming, the warrior monk I'd dragged to prison. It seemed Luohan Temple was already pushing back. The big monk Jiehai from Luohan Temple had clearly come prepared. He immediately picked Cloud Maiden and me out of the crowd, which meant someone had leaked our information to him beforehand. Lu Yunshin noticed it too and shot a meaningful look at the other Iron Guard chiefs. When Cloud Maiden introduced me by name, several people in the garden reacted instantly. I spotted the 4 first-tier sect players, Lin Tsai, Jiang Tianai, Zhang Shindao, and Li Shou, all staring at me with different expressions. One called me his idol. Another complained I wasn't as handsome as him. They'd all been watching my name at the top of the leaderboard. Jiehai tried to make the Iron Guard look bad in front of the 4th prince, saying we'd gone crazy arresting innocent monks. Lu Yunshin handled it perfectly. He laid out the full story of our spy case, how we'd captured He Dongfeng, the giant spirit gate sect leader who'd been posing as a mining guild elder, and exposed hundreds of spies who'd been smuggling strategic minerals to the enemy. Then Cloud Maiden took over and explained that Jumming had shown up right after this massive bust, attacked an Iron Guard officer, and picked a fight with me using his 7th rank power. She asked pointedly, "A monk attacks an Iron Guard officer at this exact timing. How is that not suspicious?" Even the 4th prince nodded along. The other sect's disciples agreed too. Jiehai's position was weakening. He shifted tactics, asking me directly where Huewu was. The player disciples on the leaderboard knew the answer. Huewu had disappeared from the rankings, meaning he was dead. I kept my face straight and said, "You should ask his mother where he went." I told them I'd been busy catching spies and had no idea about some random monk's whereabouts. Lu Yunshin piled on, questioning why Bitter Awakening Temple didn't report a missing disciple through proper channels instead of sending a 7th rank fighter to assault an Iron Guard officer. He announced he'd personally investigate the temple for more spies. The 4th prince smoothed things over, giving Jiehai a way to back down gracefully. Jiehai took it, then quickly changed the subject, proposing a friendly sparring tournament between the young fighters from all factions before we entered the cave, with prizes on the line. The 4 major sects each announced their prizes for the sparring tournament, and each one made my heart beat faster. 9 Immortals Temple offered 100 spirit pills and 10 cultivation pills. Solid, practical rewards. Divine Sect shocked everyone by putting up 2 soul restoration pills, legendary medicines that boost your natural talent and learning speed. They're worth over 100,000 silver taels, and you can't buy them anywhere. When I heard improved talent, I immediately thought about spirit points. Cloud Maiden told me the better your talent already is, the more effective they are. That sounded perfect for me. Blazing Sword Manor offered something unusual, a spot in their Extreme Flame Cave training ground, plus acceptance as an outer disciple with access to their internal arts. Most people thought it was a selfish prize since it mainly benefits their own disciples. But I had a different thought. A cave full of extreme fire sounded exactly like what I need to train the Divine Will Blade's 3rd stage. Then Luohan Temple dropped the biggest bomb. Monk Jiehai announced a golden diamond bodhi, one of the 12 legendary holy medicines of martial arts. Even the 4th prince was stunned, saying he'd never had one himself. Jiehai quickly clarified it was an immature one that died before fully growing, so it only had about 1/10 the normal effect. That made more sense. Even a fraction of a holy medicine is still incredible. I was practically burning with desire for every single prize. This tournament might be even more valuable to me than the water Chilin cave itself. Then came the bad news. Cloud Maiden whispered that the Iron Guard doesn't participate in martial world competitions. It's policy from the top. I couldn't believe it. We had 37th rank fighters here, and we're just supposed to watch? But then Monk Jiehai, smiling that calculating smile of his, invited the Iron Guard to join the tournament. I had a feeling this was another move aimed at me, but honestly, I didn't care about his motives. I wanted those prizes. Monk Jiehai kept pushing Lu Yunshin to let the Iron Guard join the tournament. Lu Yunshin refused at first. It's against Iron Guard policy to participate in martial world competitions, and we had nothing valuable to offer as prizes. But Jiehai kept needling him, basically asking if we were scared. Then the 4th prince stepped in and offered to put up the Iron Guard's prize himself. a second-tier technique called the 7-inch sword that uses vital energy to form a short blade. The 6th-rank masters from all 4 sects agreed it was exceptionally valuable. Techniques that manipulate vital energy are extremely rare, worth nearly as much as a first-tier art. With the prince taking responsibility, Lin Yan agreed. I was thrilled. Every single prize on the table was something I desperately wanted: the cultivation pills, the soul restoration pills that might boost my spirit, the extreme flame cave spot for training my divine will blades fire stage, the fragment of holy medicine, and now this vital energy technique. I planned to go all out. I'd already scanned everyone's stats. The real competition was 4 people, the top young fighter from each sect. Their base attributes were actually higher than Cloud Maiden's, but their internal arts were only second tier. That gap is my biggest advantage. My first-tier Golden King art gives me more total stat boosts than any second-tier art can match. The format was simple. A defender holds the ring against 3 challengers. Beat all 3 and you advance. The losing side gives up their prizes to the winner's faction. Jiahai suggested the Iron Guard go first as defenders, clearly trying to let others study our moves before committing their best fighters. Lin Yan agreed anyway. Li Huai jumped in immediately as our first defender. His first challenger stepped forward from Divine Sect, a young man named Dongfang Haojia. I checked his stats: 79 strength, 51 agility, 30 spirit, with 3 second-tier techniques, including one at the 4th mastery stage. He was Divine Sect's strongest young fighter, and they were sending him up first to guarantee he'd advance by beating a weaker opponent. Smart strategy. I watched the fights closely and learned a lot. The first match was Dongfang Haojia from Divine Sect versus Li Huai from our Iron Guard. When Dongfang powered up fully, his strength hit 141 and agility 127, stronger than Cloud Maiden in agility by over 20 points. Li Huai, only lower 7th rank, lasted over 100 exchanges before getting blasted away. His sword landed at my feet. I compared my stats to Dongfang's. My strength caps at 108, way below his 141. But my agility reaches 145, beating his 127. And I still have 23 free stat points saved. Even adding all of them to agility wouldn't push me past the 7th rank ceiling into 6th, so there was no risk of disqualifying myself from the cave. I made up my mind. I was going all out for every prize. The cultivation pills, the soul restoration pills, the extreme flame cave access, the holy medicine fragment, the vital energy sword technique. I wanted them all. If I had to reveal my full strength, so be it. I also noticed something I was lacking. Every experienced native fighter had developed force, a manifestation of martial intent behind their attacks. Cloud Maiden's blade force, Dongfang's palm force, even some 9th rank fighters had it. I had none. My techniques were leveled up mostly through pills, not through painstaking practice. That's probably why. But for now, raw stats and speed would have to be enough. Dongfang won 3 straight fights and advanced easily. The top fighters from the other 3 sects wisely avoided challenging him this round. Then something interesting happened. Li Shou from Luohan Temple, a player ranked 5th on the leaderboard, stepped up and asked for 8th rank opponents only. Zhang Xindao from Divine Sect immediately volunteered. They fought, and Zhang barely lost. Then Lin Cai from 9 Immortals challenged Li Shou next. I sensed something was off. These 4 leaderboard players seemed to have made a deal beforehand. 3 of them would deliberately lose to 1, feeding that person 3 wins to advance to the next round. But what was the point? The next round would be against monsters they couldn't beat, unless they had some hidden trump card I didn't know about. I watched with growing curiosity. The tournament revealed something ugly. The 4 sects were working together to humiliate the Iron Guard. Every time one of our fighters stepped up to defend the ring, the sects would send a mid to upper level fighter specifically to beat them. One by one, every Iron Guard fighter lost in the first round. Not a single one advanced. Lin Yan and the other chiefs were furious, their faces dark as iron. Even the 4th prince stopped smiling. Monk Jiahai rubbed it in, mocking us for neglecting our training. I noticed that the 4 player disciples, Li Shou, Zhang Xindao, Lin Cai, and Jiang Tianai, had worked out a deal. 3 of them deliberately lost to Li Shou, letting him advance. I still couldn't figure out what their endgame was, since Li Shou would face monsters in the next round. Meanwhile, The four sects' real champions had all advanced easily. Each sect had one top fighter at upper 7th rank level, plus several mid-7th rank fighters who'd also made it through. Finally, Cloud Maiden went up. She was stronger than anyone left in the first round, and she crushed all three opponents, winning in 50 moves, then even faster. The Iron Guard saved some face, but barely. The sects pointed out she was originally a 9 Immortals Temple disciple, not a pure Iron Guard product. Then it was just me, the last Iron Guard fighter who hadn't competed. Li Huai looked at me with contempt, thinking I'd been hiding out of fear. Lu Yunshin called me out. You're the only one left. Are you going up or not? I walked to the center. Jiahai specifically requested that only Luohan Temple fighters challenge me. He wanted his monks to be the ones to complete the Iron Guard's humiliation. The other sects agreed. A Luohan Temple fighter came at me with their signature palm technique. His stats were decent, about the same level as the late Dai Huaijin, but far below mine. I vanished from where I stood, appeared right in front of him, and unleashed the 12 golden legs. Kick after kick slammed into his chest in a blur. Under 20 moves total, and he was flying out of the ring. It ended so fast that the whole arena went silent. Lin Sai and the other players stared at me, shock slowly spreading across their faces. My first opponent went down in under 20 moves. The 6th-rank masters watching immediately noticed my style, extreme speed but lacking raw power. The top fighters from each sect looked at me with a bit more respect, but not much. They didn't see me as a real threat yet. Cloud Maiden noticed I'd gotten faster since our sparring session. What she didn't realize was that I hadn't even drawn my blade. I only used 3 of my techniques. She was seeing maybe 70% of my real power. The second fight was the interesting one. Luohan Temple sent out a monk named Huishir who practiced Golden Bell Shield, a rare second-tier external defense art that makes your body nearly indestructible. When I kicked him with everything I had, he didn't budge, not even a flinch, like kicking a stone bell. I checked his skills and almost laughed. Golden Bell Shield, Iron Crotch Technique, Iron Head Technique. This guy was terrified of dying and had built himself into a living fortress. I drew my Jiao Bone Blade and unleashed a full tiger capture combo on him. White scratch marks appeared on his skin and vanished instantly. I even kicked him below the belt. Nothing. The 4th prince praised his defense. Monk Jiahai was beaming. Lu Yunshin pointed out the obvious. Huishir couldn't hurt me either. It was a stalemate. Jiahai smugly replied there were no draws. I either win or surrender. So I pulled out my 100 forged red gold pickaxe, activated its rage mode, and started mining his bald head. The crowd went completely silent, then erupted. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. The pickaxe burned through his vital energy shield rapidly, and once it ran out, I started punching actual dents into his skull. Stop mining me, he finally screamed, trying to retreat. I kicked him out of the ring. He sat there touching the holes in his head, blood running down, staring at me like I was a monster. Cloud Maiden looked stunned, suddenly connecting the rumors about my mining obsession with what she'd just witnessed. Even the 4th prince applauded, praising my adaptability. Jiahai's face turned green. 2 straight losses. One more, and Luohan Temple's reputation was ruined. The Iron Guard chiefs were finally smiling. My third opponent went down in 30 moves. I'd successfully defended the ring 3 times and advanced to the next round. But the Iron Guard's overall showing was embarrassing. Only Cloud Maiden and I made it through, while each of the 4 sects had 7 or 8 fighters advance. The second round was where the real prizes would be decided. Monk Jiahai immediately announced Luohan Temple wanted to challenge the Iron Guard first, going after the 7-inch sword technique the 4th prince had put up. The other 3 sects didn't object. They were happy to let Luohan Temple tire us out, then swoop in to grab Luohan Temple's golden diamond Bodhi afterward. I checked Luohan Temple's top fighter, Huikong. His stats were terrifying. 83 strength, 54 agility, 30 spirit, with 3 second-tier techniques, including 1 at the 4th mastery stage. He was the strongest 7th-rank fighter in the entire gathering, the cream of upper 7th rank. Huikong challenged Cloud Maiden first. They fought for a long time, trading hundreds of blows, both showing incredible skill. Cloud Maiden was slightly weaker in both strength and agility, and she was slowly losing ground. Then, just when both of them were nearly out of vital energy, Huikong started chanting scripture and his vital energy instantly refilled, a special skill from his internal art. With that burst of renewed power, he overwhelmed Cloud Maiden in a dozen more exchanges, pushing her out of the ring. She was visibly upset. The Iron Guard chiefs looked grim. If I lost too, Luohan Temple would take the prince's prize, and it would be a complete humiliation. But Huikong was smart. Instead of fighting me while exhausted, he sat down to recover and sent one of his lesser teammates to face me first. The monk stepped forward and looked at me coldly. Your turn. I noticed something important from watching. Every top fighter here prioritized their movement technique above everything else, pushing it to the 4th mastery stage. That confirmed my own strategy. Void Step had to be my #1 priority going forward. I made my decision. I dumped all 23 free stat points into agility, pushing my base to 53. Huikong's wall climbing technique was too agile, and I needed to be faster than anything he could throw at me. Then I went on a rampage. I didn't wait for Luohan Temple to come to me. I announced I was coming for their golden diamond Bodhi and told them to line up. One by one, I demolished every Luohan Temple fighter who stepped up. Each fight lasted only seconds. The first went down in a few breaths. Then another. Then another. The watching fighters from every sect stopped underestimating me real fast. Li Shou, the player from the leaderboard, came up and gave me a wink. He asked if he should just step out on his own or let me do it. I told him I'd handle it. If he quit voluntarily, his master Jiahai would beat him with a stick. A few seconds later, he was out of the ring too. Suddenly Luohan Temple only had Huikong left. The 4th prince praised me openly. Lu Yunshin asked Jiahai if he'd brought the golden diamond Bodhi with him. Jiahai coldly said I hadn't won it yet. Huikong stood up, finished resting, and came at me with everything. His strength exploded to 147, agility to 118. Terrifying numbers. But I went all out too. With my 23 extra points now in play, plus Golden King Arts 60, Void Steps 36, Jiao Bone Blades 10, and Tiger Capture Blades 9, my agility hit 168. 50 points higher than his. His attacks looked like slow motion. I dodged everything and hammered him with my blade technique. He had no time to think, no time to counter. Cut after cut opened up on his body. He was pushed out of the ring in moments. Then something extraordinary happened. In the heat of the fight, I heard a tiger's roar echo through the air. I saw a ghostly tiger appear on my blade, lunging at my opponent. The final slash sent Huikong flying so hard his arm guards nearly shattered. I'd done it. I'd developed blade force, the momentum I'd been missing all this time. It happened naturally in the intensity of real combat against a worthy opponent, not through pills or grinding. The entire arena went completely silent. Every fighter there was staring at me in disbelief. I hadn't just beaten Luohan Temple's strongest young fighter. I crushed him. The 6th-rank masters from the other sects immediately regretted not sending fighters to stop me earlier. The 9 Immortals expert even said I had potential to reach 5th rank. High praise from someone at that level. Lu Yunshin laughed and said I was ready to learn the advanced dragon capture blade technique. Monk Jiahai handed over the golden diamond Bodhi with a stone-cold expression. I opened the box and checked its effects. 500 health points, 100 vital energy, 1,000 internal art experience across all my arts, and 5 base strength points. Even as a defective product, it was incredible. I swallowed it immediately, no point waiting. Lu Yunshin was amused by my impatience. The warm energy flooded through me. My health jumped to 1,610, vital energy to 300, and both my internal arts got a huge experience boost. The Divine Ape chart was now at 1,270 out of 10,000, much closer to the next breakthrough. When Lu Yunshin asked if I could keep fighting, the other sects tried to shut me out, claiming I should stop after winning one prize. But Jiahai, of all people, actually defended me. His logic was simple. He'd rather the Iron Guard take everything than let rival sects benefit. The 4th prince agreed there was no such rule, and the other sects backed down. I challenged Divine Sect next. Dongfang Haojia walked out and looked horrified when I pulled out my pickaxe. I don't practice external defense arts. Are you really going to mind me? Everything can be mined, I told him. He took a deep breath and came at me with everything. But my agility was just too far ahead. After about a dozen exchanges, the pickaxe caught his shoulder. The impact was so brutal his entire right arm went limp. He cursed loudly and ran out of the ring. I quit. Someone else deal with this lunatic. He was smart. The water-chilling cave was the real goal, and getting injured here wasn't worth it. His pride took a hit, but his body would heal. After beating Dongfang Haojia, the arena went dead silent. I'd now defeated the top fighters from both Luohan Temple and Divine Sect. The other two sects started getting nervous. The Divine Sect and Blazing Sword leaders tried to change the rules, claiming I should stop after winning one prize. But Jiahai actually defended me, wanting the Iron Guard to take everything rather than let his rival sects benefit. The fourth prince agreed there was no rule against it. I kept fighting Divine Sect's remaining members, but I wasn't rushing to finish them. I used each fight, 200 moves each, to practice and refine my new blade force. With every opponent, the tiger image on my blade grew sharper, more solid. By the time I'd beaten every Divine Sect fighter, my blade force came as naturally as breathing. My overall combat power had jumped by 30 to 40% compared to the start of the day. Lu Yunshin collected the prize, 2 soul restoration pills. He suggested I sell one for 30 cultivation pills. But when I checked the description, my heart nearly stopped. Each pill grants 20 spirit points, with the second at half effect. I swallowed the first pill instantly. My spirits surged from 60 to 80. Then I ate the second one too. Everyone was stunned. Several people had been planning to buy one off me. My spirit climbed to 90. The fourth prince understood immediately, nodding approvingly. He said I clearly knew what mattered for my foundation. The 4-player disciples watching also understood. Base stats are everything in our system. With 90 spirit, my training efficiency skyrocketed. I could now earn 9 proficiency points per hour of practice, and my daily internal art experience cap jumped to 45 points. My total base stats, strength, agility, and spirit combined, were now comparable to the top fighters here. They had more strength. I had far more spirit. And spirit is the stat nobody else can match. This trip was already paying off beyond anything I'd imagined, and I still had prizes left to win. Next target, 9 Immortals Temples, 10 Cultivation Pills, and 100 Spirit Pills. With those, I'd have enough to push the Divine Ape chart to the next stage, boosting my spirit to 130. At that level, I'd gain 13 proficiency points per hour and 65 internal art experience daily. Even without more pills, I could break through Golden King art to the 4th stage in 5 years. The 4th prince upped the stakes. If I could beat all remaining sects, he'd give me the 7-inch sword too. A grand slam. Everyone in the arena gulped. 9 immortals sent out their best, Qi Qingyao. She worried me most because her base agility was 70, extremely high. With all her techniques active, her agility hit 158, only 10 points below mine. She also used a tricky, fox-like blade style designed to exploit openings. We clashed at full speed, blade against blade, so fast the audience could barely follow. She was cunning, constantly probing for weaknesses with her agile fighting style. But my 90 spirit points made my perception incredibly sharp. Every tricky angle she tried, I could read clearly. After over 100 exchanges, she couldn't find any openings. Then I deliberately left one. She saw it and slashed my left shoulder, her eyes lighting up with triumph. But the moment her blade hit me, her expression changed. "Something's wrong," she muttered. My skin only showed a white scratch mark. No blood, no wound. I'd activated Diamond Body at the last instant, boosting my defense tenfold. Her strike only cost me about 30 vital energy points. Before she could pull back, I was already on her. My Tiger Capture Blade crashed down on her again and again, breaking her rhythm completely. In just a few moves, she was knocked out of the ring. She stared at me, confused about what happened. I glanced at my shoulder. The Iron Guard uniform was torn, but underneath, not even a scratch on my skin. After Qi Qingyao lost, the rest of 9 Immortals Temple's fighters came at me one by one. I used each of them to sharpen my blade force even further. When the last one fell, I'd secured their prize, 10 cultivation pills and 100 spirit pills. The 6-rank masters from 3 different sects then started competing to recruit me. The 9 Immortals Elder said we shared the same surname and invited me to join. Divine Sect's leader jumped in too. Blazing Sword's leader actually seemed to want me to beat his own disciples, so I'd become their outer disciple. The 4th prince told them all to wait until the fights were over. Blazing Sword sent their best, Chun Zhua, a balanced fighter with solid stats. He lasted about 100 moves before I knocked him out. Then I swept through the rest of their team in under 15 minutes. Grand Slam. Every single prize belonged to me. The 6th-rank masters took the losses surprisingly well. Losing to the Iron Guard was more acceptable than losing to a rival sect. The 4th prince personally handed me the 7-inch sword manual. I tucked it away without studying it. I already had too many techniques to train and was thinking about selling it for cultivation pills later. Back at the Iron Guard headquarters, Qin Mo brought 4 visitors to see me. Lin Yan, Jiang Tianai, Zhang Xindao, and Li Shou, all 4 first-tier sect players from the leaderboard. Li Shou tried to dismiss Qin Mo with a single silver coin. When I introduced Qin Mo as the 9th-ranked player on the leaderboard, Li Shou's face went red with embarrassment. They all quickly apologized. Then the 4 of them looked at each other and said in unison, "We're here to hug your thigh." They wanted to team up with me. The 4 leaderboard players wanted to team up with me, so we all went out for late-night donkey hot pot to swap information and get to know each other. We introduced ourselves with our real-world backgrounds. Zhang Xindao was a new middle school teacher. Lin Yan was a model. Jiang Tianai was a college freshman studying education. Li Shou was working on a Buddhist studies doctorate, which was ironic since he was stuffing his face with meat and ordering wine as a monk in the game. Qin Mo casually mentioned he'd just gotten out of prison for lending his bank card to a friend. That got some looks. When it was my turn, I just said I was a professional gold farmer. Zhang Xindao immediately said that explained everything. We traded intel. The key takeaways were mostly stuff I already knew. We can't get back to reality. New players keep arriving between ages 18 and 35, and death here is permanent. One disturbing detail, both Jiang Tianai and Zhang Xindao had encountered groups of players forming cult-like organizations. Qin Mo said there were similar ones in the provincial capital. Apparently, the real world was getting chaotic with millions of people missing. Everyone was doing what they could for new players. Lin Yan and the others used their sect connections to find jobs for newcomers. I told them about my mining operation. It's the fastest way to level up, with hundreds of players already doing it at my red gold mine. Qin Mo quickly warned them it's mentally brutal work, and that you'd have to be a special kind of person to do it all day. We agreed on the basics. Look out for fellow players, stay alive, and get stronger. Then a commotion broke out nearby. Several people came flying out of a second-floor restaurant window and crashed into the street. A scholar-looking young man appeared at the window and announced himself. "I'm Zhang Ning from the Stargazing Academy. If any of you want a rematch, come get 300 more rounds." Zhang Ning. I recognized that name. He was 10th on the leaderboard. Another player, and apparently one who liked picking fights. We were still eating when a commotion broke out at a nearby restaurant. A young scholar-looking guy got thrown out. Or rather, he threw several people out from the second floor. He announced himself as Zhang Ning from the Stargazing Academy. I checked his stats and was underwhelmed. Level 20, Strength 22, Agility 18. He wasn't even close to 9th rank. He was the bottom of the leaderboard, and honestly, his stats represented what most ordinary players looked like. The rest of us on the rankings were the extreme outliers. Zhang Ning was acting like a big shot, demanding the people he'd beaten kneel and kowtow 3 times. He was drunk on the attention from the growing crowd. Then some 9th-rank Iron Guard patrol officers showed up and told him to come with them. Fighting inside the city is strictly prohibited, no exceptions, not even for major sections. Zhang Ning sneered and called them court dogs. When they blocked his path, he slapped the lead officer across the face. That was the dumbest thing he could have done. The officers drew their blades and surrounded him. He tried to fight back, but they worked as a team, disciplined and coordinated. One shout of, "Traitor attacking Iron Guard officers," and the blades came down. They cut off his hand when he asked to use medicine. Then they kept cutting. Face, shoulders, everywhere. His health dropped to 0 in seconds. He died in a pool of blood on the street, wearing his white scholar robes now soaked red. The officers calmly collected his body, took witness statements, and someone came to clean the bloodstains. The crowd dispersed and went back to drinking and shopping, chatting about what just happened like it was evening entertainment. Lin Yan and the others stared in shock. The 10th-ranked player, gone, just like that. Qin Mo sat back down calmly and explained, "In this country, the law is absolute. Fighting between martial artists might get overlooked, but the moment you raise a hand against an Iron Guard officer, you're dead. Zhang Ning was an idiot. Li Shou looked at Qin Mo with sudden respect and said, very seriously, I want to become a constable too. We talked strategy for the water-chilling cave over dinner. I told the 4 players not to compete for resources inside. Let their senior sect members handle that. Whatever the sect gains, they'd benefit from too. Their job was simple. Stick with their groups, don't get isolated, and don't give anyone a reason to target them. Coming from a professional gold farming background, I knew that team coordination matters more than individual heroics. They asked about fighting monsters for experience inside the cave. I explained that the system calculates experience based on the power gap. If you're too strong, you get nothing. If the boss is way above you, the payout is huge. But it's risky compared to steady mining. Jiang Tian AI and the others decided they'd try mining when they got back to their sections. We wrapped up after about an hour. Back in my room, I made a strategic decision about my 100 spirit pills. I saved 22 for later, 2 for advancing the divine will blade in icy terrain, and 20 for the fire stage if I got access to the extreme flame cave. The remaining 78 all went into void step, pushing its proficiency past 54,000 out of 100,000. More than halfway to the next stage. I packed everything for the cave expedition. Pickaxe, blades, 100 throwing knives, medicine, cultivation pills, and most importantly, my invisibility talisman sealed safely in a waterproof leather pouch. That was my ultimate insurance. The next morning, over 200 Iron Guard officers marched to the port. Massive ships from the Waterway Guild waited there, some 3 stories tall, others 5. The 4 major sects had brought their own contingents too, plus dozens of second and third-tier groups. The dock was packed with hundreds of martial artists. Then a cold voice cut through the crowd. A middle-aged scholar demanded that Lu Yunxin explain why his disciple had been killed by Iron Guard officers the previous night. It was Zhang Ning's master from the Stargazing Academy, backed by dozens of students in scholar robes, demanding justice for the idiot who'd slapped an officer and gotten himself killed. The next morning at the port, a middle-aged scholar named Gu Weizhou from the Stargazing Academy confronted Lu Yunxin, demanding justice for Zhang Ning's death. He claimed his disciple was a good, respectful student who didn't deserve to die over a minor dispute. Lu Yunxin dismissed him flatly. The case was clean, with witnesses and evidence, fully within the law. When the 4th prince arrived, Gu Weizhou appealed directly to him, even threatening to send their academy dean to the capital to complain. The prince asked for witnesses. That's when things got interesting. Qin Mo stepped forward first, testifying that he'd seen everything while eating with me. Then I came out and confirmed it. Gu Weizhou sneered at me, saying I was just another Iron Guard covering for my own. Then, one by one, the other players stepped up from their own sect formations. Li Shou walked out from the Luohan Temple side. Zhang Xindao from Divine Sect. Lin Cai from 9 Immortals. Jiang Tian AI from Blazing Sword. She called Zhang Ning a mad dog. Every major faction now had a witness backing the Iron Guard's account. The 6-rank masters from each sect exchanged bewildered looks. They hadn't realized their disciples had all been having dinner together with me. The other players in the crowd recognized the leaderboard names being called and started buzzing with excitement. Gu Weizhou's face turned black. With all 4 major sects' disciples testifying against him, his position collapsed completely. The 4th prince pointed out that 4 independent sects wouldn't all lie for the Iron Guard. Gu Weizhou grudgingly admitted Zhang Ning had been in the wrong. The prince declared it was time to focus on the real mission. Everyone boarded the massive ships, over a dozen of them, some 5 stories tall. Half an hour later, the fleet sailed out and disappeared over the horizon. I was on the same ship as the 4th prince. Once we were underway, I found Cloud Maiden and asked her something I'd been thinking about. Would you want the 7-inch sword technique? I'm considering trading it. I asked Cloud Maiden about selling the 7-inch sword technique. She warned me that since it was a gift from the 4th prince, I should ask his permission first to avoid offending him. Lu Yunxin overheard and said he'd be interested in buying it. He was heading to see the prince anyway, so I tagged along. On the top deck, a Waterway Guild elder named Chao Juanxiong was chatting with the prince, praising my tournament performance. He even tried to recruit me for the guild, but the prince told him 9 Immortals Temple had already tried, and I'd turned them down. He figured the Iron Guard headquarters in the capital wouldn't let me go either. Once everyone gathered, The prince introduced an old man standing behind him. I checked his stats and nearly choked. Strength 173, Agility 191, Spirit 50, with 2 techniques at the highest mastery level. He was from the Imperial Ceremonial Office, a palace eunuch. This was a 5th-rank master, the prince's personal bodyguard. Seeing those numbers made me truly understand the gap between ranks. Even Lin Yan, a 6th-rank fighter with the same tier of internal art, had far lower base stats. The difference came from hidden levels and years of accumulation. The old man, Su Wuji, handed each of us a bottle containing 2 water-repelling pills. One to take before diving in, one for the return trip. The pills let you hold your breath for at least half an hour underwater and reduce water pressure on your body. He stressed they're extremely rare. Lose one, and you either can't enter or can't leave. Then he explained the route. The Water Chelan cave entrance is 100 yards underwater. We'd find a glowing blue tunnel and swim about 12 miles through it, possibly encountering sea creatures along the way. At the end, we'd surface in a cold pool and step into the cave itself, a frozen wasteland of ice and snow. My heart jumped at that. Ice and snow. Exactly the environment needed for training the divine Will Blade's 2nd stage. Su Wuji continued. The water bodhi fruit only grows in the deepest part of the cave, where it's coldest. We'd have exactly 10 days. When the water Chelan fully wakes, even if it ignores us, the cold storm it unleashes upon waking would kill everyone still inside. While the old eunuch was explaining the cave details, Lin Yan brought up the 7-inch sword sale to the 4th prince. I smoothly redirected it, so it looked like Lin Yan was the one requesting the purchase, not me begging to sell a royal gift. The prince appreciated that I wasn't being greedy. I simply had too many techniques to train already. He approved. Lin Yan offered 100 cultivation pills. Everyone in the room gasped. Most of these fighters struggle to get even one. But then the Waterway Guild elder, Chao Juanxiong, jumped in with 150 pills. I turned to Lin Yan first, honoring our original deal. He waved me off graciously, saying the guild could afford it better and he wouldn't stand in the way. The prince confirmed the deal, 150 cultivation pills after the cave mission. That's 75,000 experience points worth of internal art advancement. Combined with what I already have, this trip was becoming absurdly profitable before we even entered the cave. The next day, the fleet of ships converged on a spot in the middle of the Tianyuan River. Nothing but open water in every direction. Iron chains linked all the vessels together in a ring, bows pointing outward. All the major sect leaders, guild elders, and fighters with cave access gathered on the prince's ship. I scanned everyone's stats as they arrived. Sect disciples, guild fighters, even some aging 3rd-tier sect leaders who looked uncomfortable standing next to young prodigies stronger than them. I noticed the bitter awakening temple monks watching me. Their 6th-rank leader had brought 10 fighters. I made a mental note to watch out for them inside, along with the Luohan temple monks. Then the water's surface started glowing. Tiny lights appeared beneath the surface like fireflies, lamp bugs, marking the tunnel's opening. The cave entrance was active. The 4th prince swallowed his water-repelling pill. Everyone followed. Chinamo found me at the railing and told me this spot was different from where he'd ended up before, and to be careful. I swallowed the water-repelling pill and felt my skin open up. Every pore became a breathing organ. Incredible. Cloud Maiden and I were the first ones in the water, scouting for the 4th prince. Once we confirmed it was safe, everyone dove in. Hundreds of fighters plunging toward the depths. As we went deeper, the light disappeared completely. Total darkness, total silence. My heart was pounding. I'd never experienced anything like it. But my 90-point spirit powers saved me. I could sense every person nearby through water currents alone, forming mental images of everything around me. Then I felt Cloud Maiden's movements becoming erratic. She was panicking in the dark. I grabbed her arm and wrote words in her palm to calm her down. She gradually stopped shaking. When we reached the blue glow of the tunnel entrance and light returned, she quietly checked that nobody had noticed. I let go without a word. As everyone gathered at the glowing tunnel, I did a head count and realized Jiang Tianai and Zhang Shindao were missing. I signaled to Lin Cai and Li Shou, and they panicked too. Cloud Maiden tugged my sleeve to follow the group, but I gestured for her to stay with the prince and turned back alone. Li Shou wanted to come with me. I gave him a thumbs down. He wasn't strong enough for whatever was out there, and kicked both him and Lin Yan toward the tunnel. I swam back into the pitch darkness, relying entirely on my sensing ability. After a few seconds, I picked up faint vibrations. Something long and thick, maybe 8 or 9 meters, had wrapped around 2 people. They were struggling but couldn't break free. I pulled out my pickaxe, activated everything, and charged in. The creature was slimy and disgusting, but my 100-forged pickaxe punched right through its defenses, gouging bloody holes with every strike. It released its prey and turned on me, thrashing wildly. I stayed perfectly calm, fighting blind, reading its movements through water vibrations alone. Over 100 strikes later, it stopped moving. A cold stream of experience flowed into me. The thing was dead. In total darkness, underwater, using nothing but sensing and a mining tool. I found Zhang Shindao and Zhang Tian AI in the darkness and pulled them toward the light. When we reached the blue-lit zone, I finally saw what had attacked them. A massive eel-like creature, as thick as a thigh and 8 or 9 meters long, slowly sinking through the water. Its body was covered in holes from my pickaxe, blood streaming from its tooth-filled mouth. We stared at it for a moment, then swam for the tunnel fast. Lin Yan and Li Shou had waited at the entrance for us despite my telling them to go ahead. We caught up with the main group quickly. The water grew colder as we swam the 12-mile tunnel, ice crystals forming around us. When we finally surfaced, the sight was breathtaking. A vast underground frozen world, not truly above water, but like a massive cavern carved out beneath the river. Hundreds of ice pillars hung from the ceiling far overhead, reflecting light everywhere. The moment I stepped out of the freezing pool, I knew this was exactly the environment I needed. While everyone was busy making fires and drying clothes, I slipped away and swallowed 2 spirit pills. This time, the Divine Will Blade appeared as an option. Its proficiency shot past 1,000 and advanced to the 2nd stage, giving me 16 agility points and a special skill called Ice Blade. Dongfang Haojie and Chunzhua came over to thank me for saving their juniors. Even Huikong and Qi Qingyao looked shaken when they heard about the underwater creature. Everyone realized the water Qilin cave was genuinely dangerous. Back with the prince's group, Li Huai tried to call me out for abandoning my duty to protect the prince. Cloud Maiden shut him down. Iron Guard officers protect all citizens of the nation, not just one person. The 4th prince gave me a mild warning to remember my priorities going forward. I bowed and accepted it. Truthfully, if it came down to it, my fellow players would always matter more to me than any NPC prince. But I kept that thought to myself. The fires dried our clothes. Some sects had already set off deeper into the cave, racing against the 10-day clock. The prince pointed in a direction and said, "Let's go." The 4th prince told us he had intel from a previous explorer about where to find water bodhi fruits. 3 unripe ones had been spotted in an ice cave at the end of this frozen wasteland. He'd keep those for himself, but any rare herbs growing nearby were ours to take. Fair enough. What we didn't know was that behind us, over 100 enemy fighters had entered the cave through the same pool. They were Rong tribe operatives, Sky Wolf Guard, sent with 2 missions: steal whatever treasures we found, and specifically kill me as revenge for capturing He Dongfang. They had strict orders not to touch the 4th prince though, since that would start a war. We marched deep into the snow. After about 20 miles, my sensing picked up a strange rustling sound beneath the snow, something moving underground. Nobody else heard it. When a creature got close to the prince, I swung my pickaxe at the snow beside him without warning. Everyone freaked out. Cloud Maiden jumped in front of the prince, and guards drew weapons thinking I'd gone rogue. Then they saw what I'd dug out. A white worm the length of my forearm, thick as an arm, with a mouth full of fangs. A snow predator worm. The prince pulled out a reference book. These things hunt in family groups, carry freezing venom, and one bite means death in this frozen environment. No cure available. Even vital energy can't fight the poison. My senses told me hundreds were approaching. I warned everyone, but Li Huai dismissed me. Seconds later, worms burst from the snow at his feet. Then they came pouring out everywhere. Most of us handled them fine, but one 7th-rank guard got bitten on the ankle. His body turned blue, frost covered his skin, and he froze solid in seconds. Dead just like that. A 7th-rank fighter, gone from a single bite. I shouted for the prince to run. He agreed and took off, and for the first time, I saw his real speed. He was incredibly fast. I already knew why. I'd checked his stats from the beginning. 70 strength, 82 agility, 50 spirit. 3 first-tier techniques, including a first-tier internal art at the 3rd mastery stage, and 2 first-tier combat arts at the 4th stage. His total power far exceeded mine. The 4th prince wasn't someone who needed protecting. He was one of the strongest people in this entire cave. The 4th prince had good intel. A previous explorer had told him about 3 unripe water bodhi fruits growing in an ice cave at the end of this frozen wasteland. He'd keep those, but any herbs nearby were fair game for us. About 20 miles in, my sensing picked up rustling beneath the snow. Hundreds of somethings moving toward us. Nobody else heard a thing. When one got close to the prince, I swung my pickaxe at the snow right next to him without warning. Everyone panicked. Cloud Maiden jumped in front of him. Guards drew weapons thinking I'd lost my mind. Then they saw the white worm I'd dug out. A snow predator worm, arm length, full of fangs, carrying freezing venom. One bite means death. No cure in this cold. They poured out of the snow by the hundreds. Most of us handled them, but one 7th-rank guard got bitten on the ankle. He turned blue, frosted over, and froze solid in seconds. Dead. The prince ordered a retreat and took off at incredible speed. 3 first-tier techniques, all high mastery. He was stronger than me by a significant margin. His spirit was 50, though. That's still my edge. After outrunning the swarm, we pushed through a blizzard where visibility dropped to a few meters. My sensing worked like radar. I could track everything around us without seeing. This is where high spirit really shines. Eventually, we reached a massive ice mountain riddled with caves. The prince led us into one, warning us to stay close. Get lost in here, and you die when the 10 days are up. While scouting ahead with Cloud Maiden, she whispered that she knew a location where water bodhi might grow. If I came with her after the prince got his share, we'd split whatever we found 50-50. I agreed immediately. Having insider intel beats wandering blind. Deep inside the cave, we entered a huge ice chamber. In the center grew a stunning ice blue spirit mushroom, a 299-year-old frostlingji. The same type of all-boosting treasure as my fire ginseng, but 3 times older. It could potentially jump me 2 or 3 levels. The problem was the enormous white bear sleeping next to it, bigger than the tyrant ghost spiders I'd fought before. When I checked its stats, every line showed question marks, meaning it was so far above me I couldn't even read its power. The prince's eyes lit up. He said the frost power bear was valuable from head to tail, fur for armor, bones for weapons, and its heart, eaten raw, grants permanent cold resistance. The prince told everyone the frost power bear was equivalent to a lower 6th-rank fighter, way too strong for any of us alone. He also wanted the frostlingji, but said water bodhi came first. We quietly crept past the sleeping bear without waking it. As we moved on, I caught a faint, unusual scent. I went to the back of the group and found a thin layer of white powder on the ground, nearly invisible against the ice. I called Li Huai over since he's trained in poisons and medicines. He identified it immediately, tracking powder, designed for hunting dogs to follow. I pointed at the guard who dropped it, a man named Xiao Chun. He denied everything and accused me of making false claims. I used my insight skill on him and learned the truth. 3 months ago, he'd taken 50,000 silver taels and 3 cultivation pills from someone, agreeing to scatter tracking powder inside the water-chilling cave. I couldn't reveal my insight ability, so I simply told everyone I'd seen him do it with my own eyes. His face kept shifting between pale and flushed. Every experienced officer recognized the guilty reaction instantly. Cloud Maiden laid out the logic coldly. If the buyers were legitimate medicine traders, they'd just hire someone to collect herbs openly. The only people who need to secretly track our location inside the cave are enemy spies. She recommended we evacuate immediately. Xiaoqin kept insisting it was just a business deal, but nobody was buying it anymore. The 4th prince sighed quietly. Some money you can take, and nobody will judge you. But some money. You shouldn't touch a single coin. Then he moved so fast I barely saw it. One flash, and Xiaoqin's head was flying through the air. The headless body kept kneeling, twitching. Everyone froze. This was the first time the prince had shown his real killing ability. None of them had realized how strong he truly was. He explained calmly that in normal circumstances, this would go through the Iron Guard. But inside the cave, A traitor is too dangerous to keep alive. He'd explained to the Iron Guard commander personally afterward. Then he turned to me with genuine appreciation. Your observation skills are remarkable, Yang. When we get out, I'll personally write a commendation letter for you. Li Huai and the others could barely contain their jealousy. A personal letter from a prince was practically a guaranteed promotion. The prince rushed us deeper into the cave, but the spot where water Bodhi was supposed to grow was completely empty. His intel was wrong. He grimly announced we'd try a second location and let us back. On the way back through the ice chamber with the sleeping bear, we ran into trouble. A group of over 100 fighters emerged from the opposite side, led by a young man with a hunting dog. I checked his stats. His name was Nangongyu, and his affiliation read, Rome Tribe Sky Wolf Guard, a spy organization. But his techniques were all stolen from our side. Iron Guard arts, even the advanced dragon capture blade. Li Huai actually recognized him as a fellow Iron Guard officer and called him Big Brother Nangong. The guy smiled and claimed he was here to help. Li Huai saw through it immediately. The prince stayed calm. He figured out right away these were Sky Wolf Guard operatives, over 100 7th-rank fighters, outnumbering us 3-1. Then Nangongyu made his demand, hand over Yangling. Their commander wanted my head specifically. Just me. Then they'd leave. The prince tried a trick first, pointing at a random guard and calling him Yangling, but Nangongyu had done his homework and picked me out of the crowd easily. The prince dropped his act and pulled out a divine crossbow, the weapon that kills 5th-rank masters. The enemy fighters went pale. All our guards drew crossbows too. Cloud Maiden handed me one of hers. But Nangongyu calculated the odds. The divine crossbow could maybe kill 10 of them. The remaining 90 would slaughter us. The prince whispered his plan to me. Shoot the bear's backside. Then everyone runs. I fired. The bolt barely penetrated the bear's hide. Its defense was insane. But it woke up furious, standing like a living wall. The prince fired his divine crossbow at Nangongyu, who dodged, but several fighters behind him were pierced through and killed instantly. Our guards opened fire too. The bear chose to charge at Nangongyu's side, smart enough to avoid the prince who was pointing the crossbow at it. I saw my opening. I pulled 8 throwing knives from my belt, activated everything, Golden King Art, Void Step, and the Divine Will Blade's new Ice Blade skill. My agility hit 165. The knives flew like lightning at Nangongyu, coated in freezing energy. He grabbed a subordinate as a human shield. My knives punched through the man, and the ice power froze him solid into an ice sculpture. Nangongyu's face twisted in shock. The Divine Will Blade? He recognized the extinct technique instantly. The ice chamber erupted into chaos. Our side had crossbows, which bought us time, but what really turned the tide was my Divine Will Blade. Everyone, allies and enemies alike, stared in shock when my first target froze into an ice sculpture. Li Huai and the others realized I'd been holding back this whole time. Nangongyu completely lost his composure, screaming, "How can you possibly know the Divine Will Blade?" Even the 4th prince was stunned. He tried to learn it himself and couldn't get past the entry requirement. I stayed calm and kept throwing, one knife at a time, each costing just 3 vital energy points from my pool of 300. My 90-point spirit made my sensing razor sharp. I could find the perfect moment to strike every time. Each knife that broke skin triggered the ice blade effect, freezing the target solid. Our teammates could then finish them off with crossbow bolts. The prince fired his divine crossbow twice more. In the narrow cave tunnel, its penetrating power was devastating. Each shot punched through 5 or 6 enemies. Combined with my freezing knives, their 100-man force was crumbling fast. Nangongyu ordered a retreat, but I wasn't letting them go. I chased them through the caves, picking off stragglers one by one. They tried ambushing me, but my sensing kept me at a safe distance, and the bright ice walls left them nowhere to hide. The Frost Power Bear was also rampaging through their ranks, crushing several more. When Nangongyu finally burst out of the cave, he turned around and nearly broke down. Out of over 100 fighters, barely a dozen had survived. I threw my last batch of knives at him. He activated the Iron Guard Divine Armor technique. His skin flashed gold, deflecting most of the damage. But several knives still pierced his back, and the freezing cold started eating into him. He ran into the blizzard without looking back. My belt was empty. My vital energy was nearly gone. The prince told me to let him go. Out of over 100 enemy 7th-rank fighters, We'd killed almost all of them. I personally took down several dozen with throwing knives alone. The prince looked at me and said, "You've earned extraordinary merit today." Then he noticed the frost power bear had fled, but the 299-year frost Lingji was still sitting there untouched. "Yang Ling, it's yours." The fourth prince gave me the 299-year frost Lingji as a reward. I ate it immediately. The effects were incredible. Both internal arts gained 500 experience points each. All my combat techniques gained 500 proficiency each, and my vital energy jumped from 300 to 500. That extra 200 vital energy means 67 more ice blade throws. The only technique that didn't benefit was the divine will blade, since it needs special environments. Then massive waves of cold energy flooded into me. I leveled up twice, hitting level 40. A notification appeared. I was the first player among tens of millions to reach level 40. Another golden treasure chest materialized, darker gold than last time. But there was something new. A chest fusion slot. The interface showed 2 slots on either side, feeding into a bigger slot in the middle. I could apparently fuse 2 gold chests into a purple chest of higher quality. The catch? First attempt has only 10% success rate. It builds to 40% maximum after burning through 4 chests as failed attempts. Terrible odds. I decided to save the fusion feature for later and stay practical. I opened the gold chest. Inside was a pair of black boots with white soles, the 7-rank Qilin boots. They grant 20 permanent agility points while worn, plus a special skill called Intimidation. I'd expected a speed skill from boots, but Intimidation was unexpected. I put them on immediately. With the boots, my base agility jumped to 73, plus the 20 from the boots shown separately. My full combat agility would now be even more terrifying. I checked my updated stats. Level 40, Strength 16, Agility 73 plus 20 from boots, Spirit 90, Vital Energy 500, Health 1,610. Void Step proficiency had passed 55,000, over halfway to the next breakthrough. 3 free stat points saved. This cave trip was already the most profitable thing I'd ever done, and we hadn't even found the water boaty yet. I did the math on my new stats. With the Qilin boots adding 20 base agility, my theoretical maximum agility now reached 204 points, though I couldn't use the Divine Will Blade and Tiger Capture Blade simultaneously. Still, that kind of speed belongs in 6th rank territory. My only weakness remained raw strength. The interrogation of the 3 captured spies revealed important intelligence. The Sky Wolf Guard had sent 3 separate teams into the Water Qilin Cave, not just one. Nangong, you led only the first group. 2 more were still somewhere inside. They'd gotten in by diving 30 miles from our entry point, using tracking powder left by moles planted among the Waterway Guild's ships. Most alarming, the enemy had somehow collected enough water-repelling pills, which were supposed to be exclusive to our country. The prince killed all 3 prisoners and ordered us to keep moving toward his second water boaty location. Time was too precious to hunt the remaining spy teams. I deliberately slowed my pace, and Cloud Maiden matched me. I whispered my concern. If we didn't warn the other sects, they could walk right into those 2 remaining enemy squads. She agreed and brought it up with the prince during a rest stop. The prince saw the logic but lacked manpower to spare. Then he looked at me. "You're the only one who could do this alone. Everyone else would probably die on the way." Cloud Maiden wanted to come with me, but the prince shut that down. He needed her for his own protection. I accepted without hesitation. "I'll go fast and come back fast." The prince patted my shoulder and said something that stuck with me. "The Sky Wolf Guard wants you dead. As long as you stay alive, you're their worst nightmare." I turned and walked into the frozen wilderness alone. The other guards watched me disappear into the white emptiness, most of them thinking they'd never dare take this mission solo. Li Huai muttered something about me becoming a key figure in the prince's inner circle. He wasn't wrong, but my real reason for wanting to go alone had nothing to do with politics. Lin Cai, Zhang Shindao, Jiang Tian Ai, and Li Shou were out there somewhere, and 2 enemy squads were hunting for targets. Being on my own felt liberating. No prince to babysit, no politics to navigate. Just me and the frozen wilderness. My enhanced memory from 90 spirit points proved invaluable. I'd memorized the ice pillar patterns overhead on the way in, so I could navigate back without getting lost. After about an hour of retracing my steps, I spotted something unexpected, a familiar fat backside with a crossbow bolt still stuck in it. The Frost Power Bear, peeking into a snow valley. Below, a dozen older 7th-rank fighters from various third-tier sects were battling each other over a small red fish flopping on the snow near an ice hole. A fire dragon fish. Its description said eating the raw meat after removing its poison sac boosts internal art cultivation. Both internal arts at once. No 3-day waiting period like cultivation pills. The bears suddenly charged into the valley. The old fighters panicked and scattered. Nobody wants to face a 6th-rank beast. But I threw an ice blade knife right at its most vulnerable spot, the wound where my crossbow bolt was still stuck. The bear yelped, clenched up, glanced back at me with fury, then kept running and disappeared into the blizzard without stopping. Twice now it had chosen to flee rather than fight. Smart animal. I cleaned the fire dragon fish on the spot and ate it raw. Both my internal arts gained 100 experience points instantly, equivalent to a cultivation pill, but without 3 days of digestion. The old fighters came back cautiously. Their leader, a sect master named Hyang, recognized me and was clearly impressed that I'd scared off the bear. I offered to share the remaining fish from the ice hole. They were shocked by my generosity and eagerly started fishing. They'd come prepared with lines and hooks. These fire dragon fish were stupid and bit at anything. I asked Hyang about the 4 major sects locations. He pointed me toward the southwest for Divine Sect. Then I delivered my real message. The Rung tribe had infiltrated the cave with multiple spy teams. The prince had sent me to warn everyone. The old fighters were furious. Just then, the ground started shaking. The Frost Power Bear was charging back toward us at full speed. The Frost Power Bear came charging back, but it wasn't after the fish. 30-something 7th-rank fighters were chasing it. I instantly recognized them as the 2nd Rung spy team. Their leader didn't know I'd already identified them. He played friendly, asking to split the fire dragon fish. I played along, letting them get closer. When their leader reached 10 paces, my optimal throwing range, I put an ice blade knife through his forehead. He froze solid mid-step. Then I charged. My agility was approaching 200 points. I threw knives and swung my blade simultaneously, tearing through their ranks. These were 7th-rank fighters, but against my speed, they moved like ordinary people. Their crossbow bolts and counter throws couldn't touch me. Hyang and his group of old fighters joined in too, though honestly, I did most of the damage. It was over in minutes. Out of 30-plus enemies, I left 3 alive for questioning. One tried the fake death trick, biting something to spray black blood and collapse. But my sensing picked up his heart still pounding hard. I pinned his hands and feet with ice blade knives. He screamed and cursed me. That's divine will, I told him. Not my fault. I lied to him that I'd release his 2 companions, just to make sure he died feeling betrayed and furious. It worked. He died with his eyes wide open in rage. The other 2 tried attacking me when they realized there was no escape. I kicked each one in the forehead. Dead instantly. I had Yang's group search the bodies for evidence to bring back. That was 2 out of 3 spy teams eliminated. The water Chilin cave was getting safer by the minute, and I still had a warning mission to complete. I searched the dead spies' bodies but found nothing special, just some silver, medicine, tools, and 10 crossbows of mediocre quality. I gave the crossbows to Yang's group since they'd need weapons if they ran into more enemies. Crossbows are restricted in this country. Civilians can't carry them without Iron Guard permits, so these old fighters were thrilled. We split the 60 fire dragon fish that had been pulled from the ice hole. I took half, they split the rest. I ate all 30 of mine right there, and both my internal arts gained 3,000 experience points each, equivalent to 12 cultivation pills without any waiting time. My divine ape chart was now at 4,870 out of 10,000, almost halfway to the next breakthrough. After parting ways with Yang's group, I headed toward the southwest to find the sect teams. About an hour later, I got a bit lost in unfamiliar territory. Then I spotted a figure curled up in a corner, shivering badly. It was Zhang Shindao. He was in terrible shape, multiple sword wounds, crossbow bolts still stuck in him, barely conscious. He thought I was a hallucination at first. I pulled out the bolts and gave him medicine. He screamed, but the wounds started healing as his health recovered. Once he could talk, he told me what happened. The Divine Sect team had been ambushed by a well-coordinated enemy squad. Crossbow shooters, knife throwers, and poison users working together. The attack scattered the entire group. Zhang Shindao ran because he knew as an 8th-rank fighter, staying meant certain death. But he ran into hidden sentries who wounded him badly before he escaped. This confirmed my suspicion. The Sky Wolf Guard commander hadn't sent 3 identical teams. Each had a different mission. Nangong Yu's squad was probably a diversion aimed at me, while the real objective was ambushing the major sects and stealing their treasures. Zhang Shindao suddenly went pale. What about Lin Sai and the others? We can only hope they're lucky, I said. First, let's find the divine sect survivors. If Dongfang Haojia is alive, we can regroup and link up with the other sects. Once everyone's together, no amount of spy preparation can overcome our numbers. Zhang Shindao led me toward where the divine sect team had been ambushed. Deep inside an ice cave, I found Dongfang Haojia and about a dozen divine sect disciples barricading a narrow tunnel entrance, fighting off anyone who approached. A woman in her mid-30s was leading the enemy force, several dozen Sky Wolf Guard fighters. She was trying to recruit Dongfang Haojia, offering him a water bodhi fruit and Qilin scale armor if he'd defect. She claimed the Sky Wolf Guard knew exactly where to find these treasures. Dongfang Haojia played along to buy time, but he had no intention of surrendering. The tunnel worked in my favor perfectly. It was so narrow that only 3 or 4 people could stand side by side. My throwing knives became devastating in that confined space. My first ice blade knife caught the woman right in the forehead before she could even react. She froze solid on the spot. Then I started throwing more. In that narrow corridor, there was nowhere to dodge. One knife grazed a fighter's arm, then sliced through 4 or 5 more behind him. Every cut triggered the freezing effect, turning them into ice sculptures one after another. One of them recognized the technique. The divine will blade. That's our heavens will gate technique. He shouted in disbelief before an ice blade caught him too. I burned through my remaining knives rapidly, not giving them time to organize a defense. Some tried shields, but the tunnel was too tight for full coverage. In moments, 2/3 of their 30-plus fighters were down. When I ran out of knives, I drew my Jiao Bone Blade and activated the Qilin Boot's special skill, Intimidation. A wave of pressure washed over the surviving enemies, making them flinch and lose their fighting spirit for just a moment. That moment was enough. Dongfang, let's hit them from both sides, I shouted. He roared and charged with his disciples. Squeezed between us in the narrow passage, the remaining enemies were finished in minutes. Not one left standing. Zhang Shindao crept in from behind me after it was safe. Dongfang Haojia was stunned to see him alive, and even more grateful when he realized Zhang Shindao had guided me here. All the divine sect disciples bowed deeply to me. Dongfang Haojia said it plainly. Without me, every single one of them would have died today. After rescuing Dongfang Haojia's group, I learned something crucial from him. Before I'd killed her, the Sky Wolf Guard woman had been trying to recruit him with an incredible offer, a water bodhi fruit and Qilin scale armor. She claimed the Sky Wolf Guard knew exactly where to find both. This confirmed my theory. The enemy commander had given each of his 3 squads different objectives, and he'd planned this operation for years with extremely high confidence of success. Zhang Shindao found a map on the woman's body, a leather map of the Water Qilin cave. It only showed 1/3 of the cave, marked with black dots of varying sizes. My system loaded it automatically into my interface, and when I looked up, the dots aligned perfectly with the ice pillars overhead. With my virtual map overlay, I could navigate using these markers easily. There was a red circle on the map, likely marking where water bodhi grows. I handed the physical map to Dongfang Haojia for safekeeping. He tried to refuse, but I insisted. I was heading off alone to warn the other sects, and carrying the map would make me a target. What nobody knew was that my system had already copied the map, and I could read it better than anyone thanks to my spirit-enhanced memory. Then the ground started trembling. A pack of about 20 frost power bears charged toward us, led by my old friend with the crossbow bolt still in its backside. It was specifically after me. I told everyone to run left while I ran right. The bears chased me, completely ignoring the divine sect disciples. Dongfang Haojia wanted to help, but recognized the truth. They weren't strong enough to fight these things. My speed made the chase a joke. Within minutes, the bears were specks behind me in the blizzard. I slowed down and started studying my map carefully, matching the dots to the ice pillars above. Within 5 minutes, I'd plotted a route to the red circle, the spot where water bodi should be growing. I'd been walking for about a full day, navigating by the map overlay in my system. According to it, the red circle marking the water bodi location was still at least 2 days away, meaning a round trip would take 4 or 5 days, cutting things tight with the 10-day deadline. I spotted a group of mining guild fighters resting around a fire. Their leader was an old man named Mian Jingdong, upper 7th rank, the strongest among them. When they recognized me, their reactions were complicated. The whole Hedongfeng affair had cost the mining guild dearly. Several valuable mines had been seized by the Iron Guard afterward. I asked if they'd seen any of the 4 major sections. Mian said Luohan Temple's fighters had headed deeper into the frozen wasteland, toward the harsher conditions, which happened to align with the direction on my map. Then Mian surprised me. He invited me to help them mine something called Qilin iron, a rare mineral found only in the Water Qilin cave. He explained it's far superior to red gold in every way. 80 years ago, the mining guild's old leader found 10 pounds of refined Qilin iron here and forged 3 Grandmaster-grade weapons from it. He'd found an old mining tunnel left from that previous expedition, but they'd been digging for half a day with no results. He'd heard from Liang Yu that I was a natural-born miner and hoped I could speed things up. I wanted to help, but time was pressing. I told them the real reason I was out here. Rong tribe spies had infiltrated the cave with multiple teams. I warned them to watch for strangers with crossbows and throwing knives. Their faces went pale. This had never happened before in the cave's history. Just then, 2 Luohan Temple monks stumbled out of the blizzard toward us, looking relieved to find people. Before they could speak, a massive shape appeared behind them. A giant paw smashed down, crushing both monks instantly. The impact sent snow flying everywhere. Something enormous had followed them out of the storm. 2 Luohan Temple monks came stumbling out of the blizzard toward us, but before they could say a word, something enormous crushed them with a single swipe. It was a massive sea lion, bigger than the frost power bear, with tusks over a meter long. Its stats were all question marks. Then I felt something behind me. A giant white lizard was charging from the other direction, covering dozens of meters with each stride. We were caught between 2 boss-level monsters. I made a snap decision and dove into the mining tunnel. Both creatures were 4 or 5 times too big to fit through the entrance. Everyone piled in after me, the last one barely making it before the lizard slammed into the opening. We were trapped but alive. The lizard won its fight with the sea lion, then came back to start digging at our entrance, widening it with its claws. We couldn't just sit there waiting to die. Start digging. We make our own exit. I grabbed my pickaxe and charged deeper into the tunnel. I activated everything: Rage Mode, Golden King Art, Void Step, and attacked the frozen earth with both hands. The ground here was hard as red gold from the permanent cold, but my pickaxe tore through it. Mian Jingdong's job became hauling away the debris I was producing. The mining guild fighters watched in stunned silence. I didn't stop, didn't rest. When my 2 pickaxes overheated and turned red, I borrowed 2 more and kept going. In less than an hour, I'd carved over 4 or 5 meters of new tunnel. Mian Jingdong, a lifetime mining veteran, admitted openly that his own technique couldn't compare to mine. One of his men checked the lizard's progress at the entrance and reported the good news: I was digging faster than the monster. Then my pickaxe hit something different. Harder, with a crystalline gleam and faint scale-like patterns on its surface. Elder Mian, is this Qilin iron? He shoved past everyone to look. Then his face lit up with pure joy. Qilin iron. It's really Qilin iron. When I hit the Qilin iron, I couldn't believe the experience it gave me. Every single strike sent a massive flood of experience into my body, at least 100 times more than mining red gold. A few hundred strikes equaled killing a 7th-rank enemy fighter. I went into a frenzy. Both pickaxes swinging, rage mode active, completely lost in the zone. Level up notifications kept popping up, one after another. Level 41, Level 42, Level 43, Level 44, Level 45. 5 levels from one chunk of, or, about 5 pounds of Qilin iron. If I'd had an unlimited supply, I would have stayed right there mining for the entire 10 days and forgotten about everything else. When the ore ran out and my pickaxes were glowing red and smoking, I finally stopped. The mining guild fighters stared at me like I was an alien. Mian Jingdong asked if I'd sell the Qilin iron. I told him no. I wanted it forged into a pickaxe. Their jaws practically hit the floor. Then they imagined what that pickaxe would do if it hit a person instead of rock, and I saw them all break into cold sweats. I put all 8 new free stat points into strength, bringing it to 24. My health climbed to 1,690. I'd been stacking agility to catch up with the native fighters, but now it was time to start building power. More strength would also increase my throwing knife range and damage. I kept digging for an escape route since the giant lizard was still trying to widen the entrance behind us. After extending the tunnel another 10+ meters, the wall suddenly collapsed into a new passage beneath us. We followed it deep underground for over a mile. There were no more Chelan iron deposits, which was disappointing. Eventually, we reached a junction with dozens of branching tunnels, an overwhelming maze. Then my enhanced hearing picked up something faint, someone chanting Buddhist scripture. Luohan temple monks, somewhere down one of these tunnels. This way might lead out, I said, and walked into the tunnel where the sound was coming from. Whether the mining guild fighters followed was up to them. I followed the sound of chanting through the narrow tunnel and found exactly what I feared. In an ice cavern, over 20 Luohan temple disciples sat cross-legged, surrounded by dozens of Sky Wolf Guard fighters pointing high-quality crossbows at them. A cocky young man called Copper 9 was running the show. He was trying to recruit the monks, and what he revealed was chilling. He claimed the Sky Wolf Guard had agents inside Luohan Temple itself, someone called Silver 3 and Gold 6, ranked even higher than him. He said those agents had been recruited the same way, cornered and given no choice, then gradually came to appreciate the benefits. His pitch was simple: join or die. He started counting to 10, giving them a deadline to stand up and accept. Li Shou was sitting among the monks, silently cursing his luck. I could see on the leaderboard that he was still alive. He'd actually been considering pretending to defect and becoming a double agent, feeding intel back to us like some spy movie. That was actually not a terrible idea for someone in his position. Copper 9 reached 10. 3 monks stood up, faces burning with shame, unable to look at their brothers. That's when my ice blade knife shot out of a narrow side tunnel and buried itself in the back of Copper 9's skull. His smug smile froze on his face, literally. He turned into an ice sculpture before anyone even heard the sound. I burst out of the passage with my Jiao bone blade in one hand and pickaxe in the other, moving at maximum speed. Before the guards could process what happened to their leader, I'd already cut down several more. Li Shou spotted me and screamed at the top of his lungs, "It's Yang! Kill them all!" The Luohan Temple disciples snapped out of their shock and charged. Huikong was on his feet instantly, plowing into the enemy. Even the 3 monks who'd stood up to surrender went red-faced and threw themselves at the Sky Wolf Guard fighters. Li Shou, being the smart 8th rank he was, found a safe corner to watch from. He knew better than to jump into a fight between 7th rank warriors. I hit them like a tiger in a flock of sheep. With everything active, my strength was at 141 and agility at 188, without even counting the Divine Will Blade. Every swing of my Jiao Bone blade opened massive wounds. Every strike of my pickaxe caved in skulls. I activated Diamond Body and the pickaxe's rage mode for extra insurance, burning through vital energy, but having plenty to spare with my 500-point pool. Mian Jingdong's mining guild fighters arrived through the tunnel behind me and joined the fight. With 3 strong fighters leading, Huikong is upper 7th rank, Mian is upper 7th rank, and me operating beyond normal 7th rank limits. The battle was completely one-sided. The enemy fighters were solid mid-7th rank, some even upper, but none of them could handle my speed. A few tried to gang up on me and got scattered in a single exchange. It was over in seconds. Every enemy was dead. Huikong asked if my strength had reached 6th rank. Everyone tensed. A 6th rank fighter would wake the water Chelan. I shook my head. I wasn't truly 6th rank. Most of my power came from equipment bonuses, the pickaxe, the blade, the boots. Those don't count toward actual cultivation level. I also realized something important. Native warriors can't gain stat bonuses from weapons the way players can. Their weapons just hit harder, but don't change their attributes. That's a player-exclusive advantage granted by the system. Huikong handled the 3 monks who'd stood up to surrender gracefully. They claimed their legs had gone numb from sitting. He let it slide, telling them to practice their meditation more. They looked deeply grateful. I told everyone what Copper 9 had said. about silver 3 and gold 6 being embedded inside Luohan Temple itself. That was deeply troubling intelligence. I'd now eliminated 2 of the 3 Sky Wolf Guard teams plus Nangong Yu's group. But I had a growing suspicion. The Sky Wolf Guard commander wouldn't deploy this many elite agents just for harassment and recruitment. The red circle on my map, their real target, had to be something far bigger. I needed to find the remaining sects, warn them, and then get to that location before whoever was left on the enemy side did. After we escaped the tunnels, I checked my map overlay and confirmed we'd covered about half the distance to the red-circled destination. Mian Jingdong's group collected weapons from the dead spies and gave me 100 throwing knives and 30 crossbow bolts. The rest of the crossbows went to the monks and miners for self-defense. Then Huikong pulled me aside and shared something critical. He had a map too, and his destination was a place called Calamity Valley. Hundreds of years ago, when the Water Chilan Cave was first discovered, powerful warriors rushed in without knowing the rules. The Chilan woke up and killed almost everyone. Among the dead were 4th-rank grandmasters, 3rd-rank great grandmasters, and even a 2nd-rank immortal from 9 Immortals Temple. Their bodies, and everything they carried, were still in Calamity Valley. We're talking about first-tier internal arts manuals, grandmaster weapons, and who knows what else. A single first-tier art manual could be used to found an entirely new first-tier sect. I compared Huikong's map with mine. The destinations matched perfectly. The red circle on the Sky Wolf Guard's map pointed to the same place. Everything clicked. The Sky Wolf Guard's real objective wasn't harassing us or stealing herbs. They wanted to reach Calamity Valley and loot those ancient masters' remains, especially that Immortal's first-tier techniques. If the enemy got their hands on that, it would be catastrophic for our country. The 4 major sects all knew about Calamity Valley too. That's why they each had separate routes heading there. And the Sky Wolf Guard knew their routes because of moles planted inside each sect, like the silver 3 and gold 6 that copper 9 had mentioned. Huikong asked me to come along to Calamity Valley. I would have gone anyway. This was clearly where everything was converging. We reorganized and marched for roughly another day through increasingly brutal blizzards. Li Shou walked beside me, buzzing with excitement after seeing my level jump to 45 from mining Chilan iron. He'd made up his mind. When this was over, he was becoming a constable and taking up mining. After half a day pushing through the worst storm yet, the wind finally died down. About a mile ahead, I spotted a valley entrance. 9 Immortals Temple and Blazing Sword Manor fighters were already gathered there, but they weren't going in. They were facing off against something massive blocking the entrance. More spies? No. It's some kind of giant creature. We all converged at the entrance to Calamity Valley. 9 Immortals, Blazing Sword, Luohan Temple, the Mining Guild fighters, and finally the 4th Prince's group arriving from another direction. I briefed everyone on what had happened. When the prince heard I'd killed Copper 9 and likely encountered Copper 4 or 5, he laughed out loud. Those, Copper, agents are the Sky Wolf Guard's elite operatives that the Iron Guard has been hunting for years without success. Taking one out was a huge achievement. The prince said this feat alone could earn me a provincial chief position someday. The player disciples, Li Shou, Lin Tsai, and Jiang Tian AI, were thrilled. The higher I climbed in the system, the more it benefited all players. But Calamity Valley itself was a problem. The entrance was guarded by frozen creatures, massive ice sculptures of a giant crab, a sea lion, and a lizard, all bigger than the ones we'd encountered alive. They'd been flash-frozen by the valley's extreme cold. Even 6th-rank beasts couldn't survive in there. A gust of wind from inside made everyone shiver even with vital energy protection running. Qi Qingyao and Chun Zhua had been waiting here, unable to enter. They'd concluded the valley was simply too cold for 7th-rank fighters. Then the 4th prince dropped a bombshell. We just needed to wait 3 more days. The water Chilan breathes on a 14-day cycle. When the cave first opens, the Chilan is exhaling. That's when Calamity Valley is at its coldest, cold enough to freeze bones to powder. But on day 8, it starts inhaling, and the temperature gradually rises to a level our cultivation can handle. We were on day 4. 3 more days of waiting, and the valley would open up to us. Everyone was both awed and excited. The Chilan's power was beyond anything we could comprehend. Its breathing alone controlled the temperature of an entire region. But if we could get inside, we'd have access to the remains of grandmasters, great grandmasters, and even a second-rank immortal who died here centuries ago. Their techniques, their weapons, everything they carried was still in there. The fourth prince revealed something incredible about the water Qilint's breathing cycle. One full breath takes 14 days. The cave opened on an exhale, which is why Calamity Valley was frozen solid right now. But on day 8, the Qilin starts inhaling, and the temperature rises enough for us to survive inside. We were on day 4, 3 more days of waiting. The catch was timing. We'd only have about 1 hour inside before needing to start the return journey. 1 hour to grab whatever we could from the remains of grandmasters and immortals, possibly fight off enemy spies, and get out. The prince seemed confident the schedule worked, which made me wonder, maybe there was a closer exit route we didn't know about. I quietly shared this thought with Li Shou, Lin Yan, and Jiang Tianai during our patrol shift. Lin Yan picked up on it immediately. Someone of the prince's status wouldn't risk his life unless the time pressure wasn't as tight as it seemed. Either way, if he wasn't worried, we shouldn't be either. Everyone set up camp outside the valley entrance. Over the next day and a half, more groups arrived, Blazing Sword disciples, Divine Sect fighters, and even some second and third tier sect members. A group from Bitter Awakening Temple showed up with some Great Sword sect disciples. One of the monks made a snide comment when I asked about enemy encounters, implying I was overstepping my station by worrying about national security. I shut him down coldly, and Li Shou backed me up, reminding them that Luohan Temple itself had nearly been wiped out by the spies. By the second day of waiting, at least half of all the fighters who'd entered the cave had gathered here. The other half were either scattered across the frozen wasteland or had already run into the Sky Wolf Guard. Then during my watch, my hearing picked up something in the blizzard. Dozens upon dozens of figures were approaching through the snow, well over 100 of them. The Sky Wolf Guard finally showed themselves in force. Over 100 fighters, led by someone called Copper One. He was the top agent in the Copper tier, with base stats rivaling the fourth prince himself. A true top-tier 7th-rank fighter. The prince handled the standoff with cool confidence. He pointed out we had over 200 7th-rank fighters, including at least 10 upper 7th rank, plus crossbows and his divine crossbow. When Copper One tried to suggest we lacked ranged weapons, Mian Jingdong and the Luohan Temple monks pulled out all the crossbows we'd taken from their dead comrades. The prince had Cloud Maiden distribute extras to the sect disciples too. Then a divine sect disciple suddenly broke from our ranks and joined the enemy. Copper 10, the younger brother of Copper 9, the agent I'd killed. He pointed at me and swore to avenge his brother. I rolled up my sleeves and offered to settle it right there in single combat. He refused, admitting he couldn't beat me one-on-one. At least he was honest. Nangong, you turned out to be Copper 5. He told Copper 1 that their commander specifically wanted me dead, calling me a future threat to their entire organization. Copper 1 acknowledged it, but said killing me wasn't the priority. Their real mission was Calamity Valley on day 8. When the prince threatened to drive them away now, Copper 1 smiled and signaled a young woman carrying a bone flute. She played a melody, and a pack of frost power bears came lumbering out of the blizzard, including the big one I'd been fighting, now with a needle stuck in its forehead. They were being controlled. The prince recognized the technique. Beast enslavement, different from my beast taming. This was a lost art from the enemy nation that supposedly had no surviving practitioners. Apparently, they'd recovered it, with the bears added to their side, the alpha being 6th rank level and the rest at 7th rank. The power balance had shifted dramatically. Copper 1 asked politely whether they now had enough strength to camp here and wait for day 8 alongside us. The standoff ended with a truce. The fourth prince agreed to coexist until day 8. Both sides would enter Calamity Valley separately, grab what they could, and leave. Nobody wanted to waste fighters when the real prizes were inside. Copper 1's people set up camp with military precision, making our side even more wary. These weren't just martial artists. They had battlefield discipline. Then the mind game started. Nangong Yu, now confirmed as Copper 5, tried to stir trouble by pointing out I'd learned the Divine Will Blade, a technique originally from their side. Cloud Maiden shut that down, explaining it was an Iron Guard reward for capturing He Dongfeng. She added that I'd be using it specifically to kill their spies from now on. Copper 1 took a different angle. While casually eating a biscuit, he mentioned that the Divine Will Blade's training requirement was extraordinarily high. possibly higher than even the royal family's first-tier art. This made everyone wonder about my spirit level. The player disciples started whispering among themselves, trying to guess my exact stats. Then Copper One went after the fourth prince personally. He revealed that the prince's royal art, the imperial heaven scripture, requires becoming either crown prince or receiving a king's title before advancing past the third stage. That's why the prince was still stuck at 7th rank despite clearly having the talent for more. Copper One was basically saying the emperor was so paranoid about his own sons that he crippled their growth. The prince fired back, pointing out that Copper One's own second-tier art would cap him at 5th rank at best. Both sides drew blood with words. Finally, Copper One turned to me directly. He offered the Sky Wolf Guard commander's personal mentorship, first-tier techniques, and even a water bodhi fruit if I'd defect. Every fighter on our side held their breath. I knew this was a trap, not a real offer, but a knife aimed at my reputation. If I hesitated even slightly, I'd face suspicion and investigations for years after we left. So I smiled and said, "Tell your commander to become my student instead. I'll teach him mining." Every enemy fighter stood up at once. The tension spiked. But the message was clear. I'd rather insult their supreme leader than entertain their offer for a single second. Copper One stood up and threatened me for insulting their commander. The girl with the bone flute got ready, and even the frost power bear I'd been fighting looked eager for payback. He asked everyone present if they'd dare insult the Sky Wolf Guard commander, implying nobody would. I took a breath and doubled down. This is our country. If your commander came here, he'd be shining my shoes. Dead silence. Everyone on our side stared at me like I'd lost my mind. The monks, the mining guild fighters, even Li Huai, all thinking the same thing. This guy has a death wish. The enemy fighters gripped their weapons with murder in their eyes. But the fourth prince started clapping. He told Copper One that their attempt to drive a wedge between me and our side had completely backfired. I'd made my loyalty crystal clear by publicly humiliating their leader. Copper One dropped it and changed tactics. He proposed a friendly sparring tournament while we waited. Fists and kicks only, no weapons, no throwing knives. 1 cultivation pill per match, winner takes all. The prince agreed and immediately put me up first. Without weapons, I lost the stat boost from my Jiao Bone Blade, Tiger Capture Blade, and Divine Will Blade. But my Golden King art, Void Step, 12 golden legs, and Shielan boots still worked. My agility hit 169, strength 108. Copper One sent Nangongyu, Copper 5, against me first. His total stats after powering up were strength 112, agility 115. Decent, but I had him by 54 points in agility. Instead of dodging like everyone expected, I went straight at him. We traded blows at close range, both using vital energy to protect ourselves. Every time he hit me once, I kicked him 3 times. My vital energy pool was far deeper than his. After about 100 exchanges, his energy was nearly empty while mine was still strong. I broke through his guard and hammered his chest with a rapid-fire barrage of kicks. His protection shattered. He went flying, coughing blood. Copper One caught him and tossed me a cultivation pill without complaint. I smiled. I can keep going. Who's next? Copper One tried to bait me into fighting the Frost Power Bear pack for 10 cultivation pills. I told him to shine my shoes. Then the prince called me back. Fair enough, can't hog all the fights. The prince suggested a new format. Fighters from both sides could challenge each other with their own stakes, as long both parties agreed on the bet. This would fill the days while we waited. Nangongyu came up with something that actually interested me. He offered 10 throwing knives, genuine artifacts from the extinct Heaven's Will Gate, the same school my Divine Will Blade came from. I checked one. Quenched gold armor-piercing knife, 500 attack power. The highest damage rating I'd ever seen on any weapon. With these knives and my ice blade technique, one hit would kill most 7th-rank fighters instantly. But his challenge was insane. He drew a small circle on the ground, about 10 feet across. We'd each stand in our circles, 5 paces apart, with 20 crossbow bolts each. No vital energy protection. Whoever got hit more times loses. Step outside the circle, you lose. Die, you lose. He was betting on his Iron Guard Divine Armor technique, giving him bulletproof skin. In that tiny circle, my speed advantage was mostly neutralized. Cloud Maiden warned me the crossbow could kill at that range if it hit a vital spot. I told her I had it under control. The prince tossed a sword into the air, When it hit the ground, we could fire. Everyone watched the falling blade. Nangang Yu tracked it with his peripheral vision. I ignored it completely and stared straight at him. My sensing told me the exact moment it landed. I fired first. Our bolts collided midair and shattered. We both reloaded at nearly the same speed. I fired again, but this time he didn't shoot back. He just smiled as my bolt hit his forehead and barely penetrated. His iron skull technique stopped it cold. "Now I have an arrow and you don't," he said smugly. "Can you dodge while reloading?" "You have an arrow, big deal," I said, looking at this guy like he was stupid. "Then shoot already." He had one loaded. I didn't. But here's the thing. I spent months doing crazy dodging moves in tight spaces while mining Chilean iron. That wasn't just mining, that was training, baby. Mian Jingdong and the others finally realized it too. Their faces lit up like, "OHHH, that's what he was doing back then." Nangang Yu frowned and tried to predict where I'd move. He fired. Missed. Arrow went right past my ear. Meanwhile, I already reloaded. Now I'm the one with the arrow, and you're the one without. Funny how that works, huh? He stared at me hard, trying to read my next move. I lifted my crossbow slightly, and he immediately did a fake-out dodge, thinking he predicted where I'd shoot. He predicted wrong. Thunk. Arrow straight into his head again. The idiot literally dodged into my shot. "I predicted your prediction," I told him with a smile. "Don't bother with the fancy tricks. I say I'll hit you somewhere. I hit you there." His face went pale. I was already reloaded. "This time I'm shooting your feet," he panicked. I fired. Thunk. Left foot. "Now I'm shooting your right foot." He dove left to dodge. Thunk. Left foot again. Oops, aimed wrong. "Okay, this time I'm really going for the right foot." Thunk. Left leg. Again. The Zhao martial artists were whispering like crazy. What kind of body technique is this guy using? Is that iron armor scripture? Yin Ruo and his crew looked real uncomfortable. They didn't want anyone knowing Nangang Yu was from the Iron Garment Division. Having their guy get absolutely clowned like this? Embarrassing beyond belief. The fourth prince casually dropped the bomb. He's a 7th rank Iron Guard from the Iron Garment Division. Also a rogue spy. Everyone gasped. The Divine Sect disciples actually looked relieved. At least they weren't the only organization infiltrated by Heavenly Wolf spies. "This time I'm shooting your kidney." Nangang Yu started doing like 5 different fake-outs, twisting and jerking around. He looked like a monkey having a seizure. I just waited, watched him dance. My eyes weren't even really on him. My spiritual perception was doing all the aiming. I pulled the trigger. He contorted through several positions and then, with surgical precision, caught the arrow directly in his kidney. Beautiful. Copper 1 finally stepped in. Copper 5, surrender. He's trained in the heavens, will Divine Blade. "You can't beat him at this. I still have chances," Nangang Yu roared. "Get back here and stop embarrassing us." Copper 1 snapped. "You're making the Heavenly Wolf commander look like a joke." That sobered him up real fast. He surrendered, left the quenched gold armor-piercing throwing knives on the ground, and slunk back to his side looking like a kicked dog. Shame about that iron armor scripture, though. Without it, those arrows would have killed him for sure. But hey, I got incredible practice using my perception in combat. Now I know for certain. When 2 fighters are equal in strength and speed, the one with higher spiritual power dominates. You can literally predict every single move before they make it. It's not a fight anymore. It's bullying. The fourth prince had Li Huai fetch me the throwing knives. Poor guy, fellow 7th rank warrior, reduced to an errand boy. I could practically feel him seething. I checked out each knife. Heavy. 3 times heavier than normal throwing knives, packed with premium materials. For a regular warrior, these would actually be worse than normal knives. But for me, perfect fit. I tucked them into my belt and glanced over at the frost bear. That big furry idiot immediately raised its head, staring at me with pure fear in its eyes. "Yeah, you should be scared." The fourth prince turned to Copper 1 with a grin. "Doesn't seem like you have much talent on your side. If this is the Heavenly Wolf standard, maybe stay quiet and behave in Zhao from now on. Stop playing clown." Every single rogue spy stood there with faces dark as thunderclouds, not saying a word. Copper 1 didn't even bother responding to the fourth prince's trash talk. Just sat back down by the campfire like nothing happened. Smart move. Over the next few days, both sides kept having sparring matches. Win some, lose some. But every time I stood up to fight, not a single rogue spy would accept. They all suddenly developed a severe case of blindness. Couldn't see me. Didn't know I existed. Guess the free loot train has left the station, I thought. Fine. I sat down and watched everyone else fight like a good boy. Day 8 arrived. Both sides gathered at the entrance of Calamity Valley, faces full of tension and excitement. Lucky this entrance was massive, big enough for thousands of people. Otherwise, we'd already be throwing hands. The cold wind had definitely weakened. I could feel it. And then, the ice sculptures inside started melting. It was like watching winter turn to spring and fast forward. As the frost pulled back, exotic flowers and rare herbs started appearing everywhere. And I mean everywhere. Just in this tiny area near the entrance, there were plants nobody could even name. Every single one of them was worth a fortune. Li Shou was practically drooling. If I grabbed just 10 or 15 of these, I can trade them for so many pills. Zhang Shindao, Lin Cai, and Jiang Tianai had hearts pounding so loud I could probably hear them from here. The fourth prince smiled calmly. About 1 more hour and the temperature will be safe enough to enter. You have 1 hour inside. After that, get out of the water Qilin cave no matter what. Old rules. Everything goes to whoever grabs it first. Speed is king. Once someone picks a plant, don't fight over it. That just wastes time and let someone else swoop in. He pulled out a special bag from his waist. Everyone else whipped out their bags too. I had a modest one. Could fit maybe 50 gene of rice. Nothing crazy. Then I looked over at Li Shou, and this man pulled out a bag as tall as a person. Brother, are you planning to rob the entire valley? You don't need to guard me, the fourth prince said casually. Grab as much as you can. Cloud Ruoff frowned. But the heavenly wolf spies, they won't dare. Besides, I have the divine mechanism crossbow. The Iron Guard constables were thrilled. Free reign to loot. But I knew the real reason the prince wasn't worried. He was the strongest fighter among all of us. The crossbow was just his way of hiding his true power. If anyone actually attacked him, they'd discover his martial arts were absolute top-tier 7th rank. Maybe even borderline 6th rank, same as me. We can go in now, the fourth prince said. He charged in first. I was right behind him. The rogue spies moved at the same time. The moment I entered Calamity Valley, my jaw nearly dropped. This place was enormous. I couldn't even see the end of it. Way in the distance, there was some kind of massive ice mountain shrouded in freezing mist, looking like something out of a fairy tale painting. That's where the water Qilin sleeps? I passed by one of those frozen ice sculptures, some giant creature with black fur starting to show through the melting ice. I could hear its heartbeat. Slow. Thudding. Starting to wake up. Didn't care. Even if it woke up, it'd take a while to get moving. I had work to do. I blurred over to the nearest rare plant. 300-year pure yang flower. Highly poisonous if consumed raw. Can be refined into pills. Grabbed it. Bagged it. Done. That's when Qi Qingyao and Dongfang Haojie showed up nearby. You two are a step slow, I grinned, already launching toward the next target. I'd planned my entire route from the entrance. Step 1. Avoid whatever direction the fourth prince was heading. Give up those plants. Not worth competing with him. Step 2. Everything else was mine. Dongfang Haojie took one look at my speed and immediately changed direction. Smart man. This guy's too fast. If I follow the same path, I won't even get scraps. Choosing the right competitor was the real skill today. I was like a hurricane ripping through the valley. Every plant I targeted, mine. Other warriors would be standing right next to a flower, and I'd appear out of nowhere and snatch it before they could blink. They were punching the air in frustration. He was further away. How is he faster than me? In no time, my bag had over a dozen rare plants. I kept an eye on Li Shou and the other 3 hometown folks. Their haul was sad. 8th rank warriors just couldn't keep up in speed. But at least each of them grabbed 1 or 2 plants. Better than nothing. Li Shou was dragging that giant bag around, watching everyone else vacuum up treasures like starving wolves, quietly crying inside. Then my foot hit something weird. I looked down. A human head was poking out of the ground. My heart jumped for half a second before I calmed down. This was someone who died in Calamity Valley long ago, a fallen predecessor frozen under the ice. I didn't hesitate. Whipped out my 100 refined red gold cranebeak pickaxe and started digging. My digging attracted a lot of attention. Warriors from both sides kept glancing over while snatching flowers. But nobody dared come close. My reputation preceded me. My pickaxe was shredding through the ice like it was nothing. Hard-packed ancient ice. Might as well be shaved ice at a summer festival. In under a minute, I dragged out the entire frozen corpse. I guessed that a fossil, Li Shou screamed from hundreds of meters away. Someone who died here 80 years ago, but Nangongyu was staring at the body with a very different expression. When he spotted the red gold token hanging from the corpse's waist, his face turned bright red. That's the Heavenly Will sect ancestor, he shouted to the other Rome 7th ranks. He disappeared in the Water Chilan cave 160 years ago. He might have the sect's lost inner cultivation technique. Oh, lost technique, you say? Let me just check real quick. I patted down the body and pulled out an ancient book crusted with ice. Heavenly Will True Scripture, first rate. Requirement, 30 spirit power. My brain nearly exploded. This was the missing piece. I finally understood everything. The Heavenly Will Divine Blade required insane spiritual power to learn, way more than any normal person has. Without this scripture, nobody could ever reach the threshold. That's why the Heavenly Will sect was only second-rate despite having such an incredible blade technique. Their core cultivation method was lost with this frozen grandpa. The first 2 levels were cheap to train, just a few pills and half a month of work. And they'd give me 30 more spirit points on top of what I already had. My system popped up, requirements met. Begin comprehension? Yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Warm energy flooded into my forehead. Instant download complete. New technique acquired. Zhang Xindao and the gang recognized what just happened. Big Brother Yang learned another technique on the spot. That's when Nangongyu arrived with a squad of Rome 7th ranks, eyes practically bleeding with rage. Young Ling, what did you just take? I was about to answer when I heard something that made my blood run cold. A heartbeat. Faint. Deep. Coming from the corpse. This frozen old man who'd been sealed in ice for over a century was still alive. I didn't think. I pulled out my Flood Dragon Bone Blade and brought it down on his neck. Clang. Ice shards flew everywhere. The blade barely went in an INCH. This guy's body was harder than steel. I went into full-speed chopping mode. Dozens of strikes, each one landing exactly on the same cut. Hack, 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 hack. Finally, his head popped off and rolled away. The heartbeat stopped. You, Nangongyu was shaking. You desecrated my sect ancestor's body? You're evil. I stared at him with zero expression, blade in hand. You want to waste your limited time fighting me over a corpse? Come on then. All of you. Together. Let's see if I care. One of the Rome 7th ranks pulled Nangongyu aside. Copper 5. Whatever was on the body is already gone. We can't beat him, he's too fast. Let's go find herbs instead. Besides, Copper 1 seems to have a separate mission deeper inside. Nangongyu took a deep breath and pointed at me. Yangling. Nangongyu. Swear I will kill your entire family. Then he turned and ran. Bad move, saying that to me. I pulled out one of my new armor-piercing throwing knives and hurled it at his back. It shot through the air like a streak of light. But then a dark flash intercepted it mid-flight. A metal crossbow bolt knocked my knife down and shattered in half. Copper 1. Standing way in the distance, hand crossbow raised. That thing was either a divine mechanism crossbow or something equally deadly. Nangongyu didn't even look back, just ran faster. I retrieved my throwing knife and went back to harvesting herbs, privately feeling very grateful for my supernatural perception. That corpse had been waking up. If I hadn't heard that heartbeat and acted immediately, frozen solid for over 100 years and his heart was still beating, I thought with a shudder. Was that old monster a third-rank grandmaster? I kept snatching rare plants left and right. Several times I went for the same flower as other Zhao warriors, and every time I got there first. No mercy. No. After you, good sir. This wasn't the time for manners. Grab now, apologize never. They cursed me in their hearts, but didn't dare say a word to my face. Smart. Meanwhile, I confirmed something important. I got 0 experience from that frozen ancestor I beheaded earlier. Whether he was 3rd or 4th rank didn't matter. My system only gives experience based on actual combat difficulty. No cheesing the system by killing helpless frozen grandpas. Fair enough, I guess. My bag was getting heavy. The entrance area was picked completely clean, and everyone was pushing deeper into the valley. 2 hours total. About 30 minutes gone. Still got an hour and a half to harvest. I calculated, then headed deeper too. This time I deliberately followed the same direction as the 4th prince and the big shots. Wanted to see what they were really up to. The deeper I went, the colder it got. I had to coat myself in a layer of chi just to keep from freezing. Behind me, those giant frozen creatures near the entrance were waking up and smacking unlucky warriors around. Thankfully, they were still sluggish, barely recovered from their century-long nap. Zhang Shindao and the other three caught up to me. Big brother Yang. The frozen monsters are waking up. We gotta move fast. I doubled back to check on them. Those creatures range from 5th to 6th rank. Way too dangerous for my friends to handle. How'd you guys do? I asked. Zhang Shindao, 3 plants. Lin Sai, 2. Jiang Tian AI, 2. I looked at Li Shou, the man with the biggest bag of all of us. He went quiet for a second. Point 1. I opened his bag. One pathetic little plant that was maybe a few decades old. I shook my head. Brother, that giant bag was a bold choice. Stay in the safe zone, I told them. Don't go near the monsters or the rogue spies. I'm heading deeper, and I won't be able to watch your backs. They agreed immediately. None of them wanted to go deeper anyway. I left them with Mian Zhengdong's group. The guy was upper 7th rank, more than capable of keeping them safe. Li Shou immediately started buddy-buddying up with him. Survival instincts, excellent. Deeper and deeper I went. The warriors thinned out fast. Sometimes I couldn't see anyone for 300 or 400 meters in any direction. The 4th prince? Gone. Copper one? Gone. Huikong, Dongfang Haojia, Chunzhua, Qi Qingyao, all gone. Vanished toward that ice mountain in the mist. Their junior disciples were still scattered around, and every one of them looked at me like I was a predator. They'd seen my speed and were terrified I'd steal their flowers. Relax, people. I have standards. Okay, no I don't, but still. They must have gone into that ice mountain, I thought, staring at the distant frozen peak shrouded in mist. Looked absolutely terrifying. Was I tempted? Sure. Was I going in? Absolutely not. I'd already scored an incredible haul. Frost Spirit Mushroom, 7th rank Qilin Boots, Fire Dragon Fish, Qilin Iron, Armor-Piercing Throwing Knives, and a first-rate inner cultivation technique. Plus 150 cultivation pills waiting for me from the 7-inch sword trade. Greed kills. I was getting out early. Maybe I'll get lucky and find a water boatie nearby. No idea what one looks like though. I spotted something green in the distance and dashed over. Turned out to be regular weeds. Disappointing. Then the ground started trembling. I looked toward the deeper area and saw a herd of frost power bears chasing someone. My old familiar bear friend was among them, running and roaring like an idiot. The person they were chasing? Yin Ruo. She was sprinting at full speed with her green flood dragon technique, but the icy terrain was working against her. The bears had massive paws, perfect for ice. They were gaining on her. Behind the bears, that woman with the bone flute was strolling along with a smug grin, playing her creepy little tune. Yin Ruo spotted me, and her face lit up for half a second before she waved frantically. Run! Instead, I exploded forward at maximum speed, straight toward the bears. I blew past Yin Ruo so fast, she nearly fell over from shock. She slid 100 meters before she could even stop and turn around. By then, I was already on top of the biggest frost bear. Did he just? Yin Ruo mumbled in disbelief. Even if he wanted to save me, did he have to? Feed himself to a bear, but I wasn't being eaten. I was pulling the silver needle out of the big bear's forehead. You're smart enough to understand me, I said to the bear. Let's work together. Help me free your brothers. I leaped to the next bear. The freed one instantly spun around and charged at the bone flute woman with a furious roar. Her smug face? Gone. Replaced with pure terror. She grabbed her flute and ran. The moment the bone flute woman ran, all the smaller frost bears calmed down instantly. I pulled out their silver needles as fast as I could. Every single freed bear let out a roar and then just bolted for the exit. Didn't look back. Didn't help their leader fight. Just ran. Your boss is still here and you're leaving? Like father like son, I guess. Or like bear. Thank you, Constable Yang. Yin Ruo walked up and saluted me. Where's the 4th prince? I asked. He went toward that ice mountain. I thought it looked too dangerous, so I stayed back. Li Huai and the others followed him though. So they really did go in there, I muttered. What about Copper One? That mountain is called Ice Mist Mountain, Yin Ruo explained. The Iron Garment Division has records on it. It's the deepest part of the Water Qilin Cave, where the Water Qilin sleeps. The 4th prince, Copper One, Chi Ching Yao, and basically all the big shots went inside. Are they sure there's water bodhi in there? Yun Ruo smiled. Think about it. If you can occasionally find water bodhi outside the mountain, how could there not be some inside? But it's incredibly rare. You need serious luck. Something didn't sit right with me, though. The Heavenly Wolf Guard went through all this trouble just for water bodhi? It's precious, sure, but they exposed hundreds of 7th-rank agents for this operation. No way their commander would accept those losses without a much bigger prize. Yun Ruo's face changed. You mean, they have a bigger target? Something more valuable than water bodhi? My expression turned serious. And if the 4th prince runs into trouble inside that mountain? We're the ones who pay. Demotion would be step 1. Yun Ruo said, face going pale. Execution and family punishment would be step 2. Great. Love being an iron guard. All the perks of government work with the added bonus of dying if your boss dies. At least the 4th prince was strong and had his divine mechanism crossbow. Under normal circumstances, Copper One shouldn't be able to touch him.